Good evening, everyone. I would like to call this council meeting of May 4th, 2026 to order. And I'll ask if you're able to please stand for the national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Please be seated. I would like to begin by reading a safety notice. In the event of emergency, please evacuate council chambers to the nearest exit through these chamber doors. Obey all instructions given, and if assistance is required, please see Madam Clerk. Once you have evacuated the building, please gather in front of the parking lot outside of Town Hall. Also, please ensure that you place your cell phone on silent or turn it off. And lastly, the Town of Lincoln Council meetings are posted on our YouTube channel. Closed captioning is available on all of our videos by selecting the closed captioning button on the bottom right of the video. The Town of Lincoln, being part of Niagara Region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattawandrock, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Regional Municipality of Niagara and the Town of Lincoln stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Now, as I remind audiences when we read the land acknowledgement, this is not a recital. It's not a ritual. It is something that it is included in our agenda, which is a reminder that we are not the only people that live on this land, that there were other people that were here thousands of years before us. Sometimes I have the opportunity to talk about stories that relate to our Indigenous citizens. I don't have one of those tonight specifically. What I do have is something even better. We have two obvious members of the Indigenous community who are here tonight who are going to be receiving awards. They're not here because they're Indigenous and we need to do something nice. They're here because they have been educating us, spending a great deal of time helping us understand what it means to make sure that everyone is part of our great nation. All members of council are in attendance, and we have staff in attendance this evening in person and remotely. In addition, we have recipients of the Mayor's Medal, the Good Citizens Award, as well as representatives from the Niagara Regional Police Service who have been invited especially to speak to council this evening. Do members have any amendments to the order of the agenda? Councillor Mikulik, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. If possible, I understand we have a full agenda tonight with many guests and our medal recipients in the audience, but if possible, could we please add item 1.7 in our weekly correspondence from April 17th, that Town of Fort Erie Resolution Provincial Proposal on Regional Governance.
Okay, thank you very much. Do members of council know what we're referring to?
We can put it up on the screen.
Beg your
We
pardon?
can put that on the screen.
Yeah, the clerk will put it up. This was part of correspondence. This is the motion by Fort Erie. Last week, when I met with the clerk, we didn't have any, we had no indication that anyone on council had any correspondence that they wanted brought forward. However, I did receive this request, the clerk and I received this request today from Councillor Mikulik, and I would need your vote to move it to, it'll go under items for consideration as we usually do. So Madam
Can we-
Clerk, if you want to,
Excuse me, we could put the second page of that as well.
I don't think that people can read it that well. Do you want to have time to read it? Okay, thank you for that,
We can
Counselor.
circulate it to council during the meeting.
We'll do it when we get
We
there.
need to add we need to have a vote to add it to the agenda.
Okay, so just put up the motion to consideration.
Do you want me to read it, Madam Mayor?
Yes, please read the motion.
We have a motion moved by Councillor Mikulik, seconded by Councillor Russell, that council allow immediate consideration of item 1.7 of the council information package week ending April 17th, pertaining to correspondence from the town of Fort Erie dated April 16th regarding response to provincial proposal on regional governance, and that it be added to the council agenda as item 11.2 under items for consideration. And I'll open the vote. And the vote is open. So what is your vote? In favor? Councillor Patriva? Councillor Mikulik? And I will close that vote. And that carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The vote is carried, and we'll consider that later on the agenda. Item number 6 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? I see none. Do members have any announcements? Please remember you have a limit of 3 items. Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Benjima?
No, it's announcement.
You have an announcement? Okay. Do you mind just signing in again? Okay. Councillor Mikulik, thank you very much. Okay. All right, go ahead, Councillor Njima. It's not doing what we want it to do. Okay, there you go.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just some things I've been up to in the last couple of weeks. Last Wednesday, I attended Lincoln Chamber of Commerce event at Calamus Winery, which is, of course, the mayor's state of the town. I thought it was very well organized and well timed. I got a parking spot. The speakers were excellent, and it was an opportunity to start the conversation about Mayor Easton's inspiring leadership tenure, as she is not seeking re-election, as we've all heard. I'm sure over the next 7 months, there'll be plenty of opportunity to highlight her accomplishments and express our gratitude for her service, and ask what she will be up to next. You will have all received an email if you attended asking for feedback. I know that the Executive Director, Amelia, is very interested in hearing your thoughts on how the day went, so please take the time to fill out the response form, and if you didn't receive it, let me know and I'll forward it over to you. And then on April 23rd, I attended the Volunteer Appreciation event held at the Lincoln Museum and Cultural Centre, where Adam Montgomery, the Curator of Collections and Exhibitions, spoke, as did the Mayor, and I made a message in a bottle. I wrote, "Do what makes you happy," and they sealed it for me with red wax, and I still have to decide where to bury it. Gonna think about that. And finally, I attended the opening ceremony for the new storage warehouse on Quarry Road for the community care. They're thrilled to have been able to work with the town to repurpose the building. They will be storing non-perishables there and eventually fresh food too, which is such an important part of a healthy diet. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. And now we have Councillor Timmers. Oh, just a minute. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mayor Easton. I thought this was a really important announcement, so if you can just give me a minute to read it. So on Tuesday, April 28th, along with Mayor Easton, Councillor Reimer, our CAO, and some of our staff, I attended the library celebration hosted by Lincoln Pelham Public Library to launch the next chapter. It is a $1.5 million public fundraising campaign. It was a great event and a huge turnout from people in the community all across the town of Lincoln. It's very exciting to see this project moving forward, as it will benefit the entire community. I was also very pleased to share on behalf of Gregor Robertson, Minister of Housing and Infrastructure and Minister responsible for Pacific Economic Development Canada, that $2 million in federal funding has been committed through the Green and Inclusive Community Buildings Program towards our new library in Vineland. So thank you very much, Mayor Easton, for allowing me to read that. And just really quick, this Friday is the launch of the Lamplighter Tour. It's going to be 4 plays over 3 days, and if you can get tickets, it's at the theater at the West Niagara Secondary School, and I will be attending and looking forward to it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And Councillor Mikulek?
Thank you very much. I too was at that museum appreciation evening held on April 23rd. I just wanted to mention that I happened to meet, there was a young man and his mother there, Esteban and Diane Perez. And I just, typically at these functions I see a lot of similar people that I see throughout the community. These people stood out. They didn't seem like typical museum folks. And I chatted with them in the parking lot, and I said, "What brought you here? Who are you? What are you doing here?" And they commented that he volunteers at the museum during the summer program. Him and his mom, they're new to the country, they're immigrants, and they're trying to make an effort to learn about Canada, learn about the areas they live in. And I was particularly touched by that story, and I thought, what a great couple of immigrants, what a great couple of new Canadians we have to this country to make that effort to understand our town as well as our country. So I just want to share that story that was personal. And then one more announcement, if I may. I want to thank everyone that attended our ward meeting that Councillor Murray and myself held at VRIC, April 14th. I want to thank the folks that made the effort to attend. I want to thank them for their questions. They were extremely honest. Some were spirited. Staff got to hear a lot. We got to hear a lot, and I appreciated every minute of it. I think engagement from the community is important. I want to thank the folks at VRIC for hosting us, and I want to thank staff for making the attendance. They've always been there for us, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mikulek. Councillor Pachariva.
Thanks, Your Worship. And Councillor Mikulek, thank you for the reminder. So I just want to thank everyone for attending Councillor Brunet and my ward meeting on Wednesday, April 22nd. I really want to thank the staff. Tony and I don't like to freestyle. We like to have a PowerPoint presentation that kind of lays out structure for the evening, and then questions fall out of that. The room was packed. We had to get more chairs. We went the full 2 hours chatting, and to our delegation tonight, we'll have some questions because traffic and speed were number one questions that night. But to anyone who wants the PowerPoint, reach out to Tony and I. We'll be glad to share it with you. There was a couple addendums that we added. The work on Lincoln Avenue will be done in 2 weeks, and also the park at Vista Ridge. We've got the go ahead with that and put some benches and trees and things like that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor. Move on now to item under number 8, which is proclamations. We have one proclamation this evening being to recognize May 14th, 2026 as SAID or SAID Day, Students Against Impaired Driving Day. And I'll read the proclamation for you. Impaired and distracted driving remain a leading cause of serious injury and death on Ontario roads, with young people disproportionately affected. And whereas motor vehicle collisions are one of the leading causes of death among youth and young adults in Canada, and alcohol or drug impairment is a significant contributing factor. And whereas Ontario Students Against Impaired Driving empowers students to take leadership in promoting safe and sober choices, fostering awareness, strengthening community commitment to road safety. Whereas SAID Day provides an opportunity for students, schools, families, municipalities, and community partners to unite in promoting prevention, education, and responsible decision-making. Now therefore, I, Sandra Easton, Mayor of the Town of Lincoln, do hereby declare May 14th, 2026 as Students Against Impaired Driving Day. This evening, we have a significant agenda around recognition and achievements, and we've been doing this for a number of months now, since February. And I want to extend a warm welcome and sincere thanks to everyone in attendance this evening as we recognize recipients of the Good Citizens Awards and the Mayor's Medal in celebration of their outstanding achievements. Starting with the Good Citizens Awards. And councillors, because there's so many people this evening and there's so many photos to be taken, both in the chamber and out, I hope you understand if the Deputy Mayor and I will put our places in the pictures. But don't talk among yourselves while we're doing it, or there's going to be chaos. So we're going to start with the Good Citizens Award. And on behalf of Lincoln Council and our entire community, I extend our deepest appreciation to the volunteer organizations, volunteers, and good citizens who enrich Lincoln with their dedication and compassion. Reflecting on the richness of our town, I'm continually struck by its natural beauty, its agriculture and cultural heritage, and above all, the generosity of our people. It is this generosity that builds bridges of support and empathy, and that makes Lincoln a truly exceptional place to call home. Together, volunteers and volunteer groups make Lincoln a vibrant and inclusive place for all. Our community is full of diverse talents and passions. We are fortunate to have such dedicated individuals who selflessly volunteer their time, making our community a place where everyone can grow, prosper, and belong. To the award recipients, you embody the spirit that defines Lincoln, and we are deeply grateful for your dedication and generosity. As we celebrate your contributions tonight, let us also renew our commitment to supporting one another and to building a community where everyone feels valued and included. On behalf of Council, congratulations to our good citizens, and may we continue to grow and thrive together in the spirit of community and goodwill. I'm going to have Jacqueline Buchanan come forward. I'm sorry, I can't.
She's just going to stay there at
Oh,
at the
okay,
step
all
of the
right.
desk and read it out.
All right, Jacqueline's going to read the list of recipients, and there's going to be a group photo opportunity at the end of the list. So just a little additional information. Jacqueline Buchanan is the Associate Director of Human Resources for the Town of Lincoln. Go ahead, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to yourself and council for the opportunity to appreciate and acknowledge all of our wonderful good citizens. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm just going to be reading out the nominees or the nominations. And after I've done that, if you could come up and receive your certificate and then just stand to the side, there'll be a group photo at the end of that. Okay? So we're going to start with Anne DeSazo. She was nominated by Lucy Mulder, and the organization is the Beamsville Lawn Bowling Club. Anne is an integral member of the Beamsville Lawn Bowling Club and is always willing to help with both special events and regular bowling gatherings. For the past 3 years, she has volunteered as tournament registrar. Anne has also supported the club by chauffeuring junior bowlers and assisting with camps and other tasks, making her highly deserving of the Good Citizen recognition. I should mention also this is in no particular order. So Amanda Pilot, unfortunately, is not able to be here tonight. She was nominated by First Beamsville Scouting for her organization of First Beamsville Scouting. Amanda's work with the Scouts of Lincoln has been monumental. With her guidance on badge work, challenges, high-level awards, and achievements, the Scouts program has been elevated to the highest honor. Our program is built mostly by her hard work and organization. It has been noticed nationally, with other groups reaching out to us for advice and admiration. So thank you, Amanda. I hope you're having a good time on your vacation. The next one is Fraser Hall from First Beamsville Scouting. Organization is First Beamsville Scouting. Fraser has taken the senior scouting program to new heights. From advanced wilderness camping to tree protection initiatives at Bombury Park. He is dedicated to the weekly meetings, camps multiple times a month, and organizes all the volunteer and construction projects, keeping the older youth focused and engaged. Thank you, Fraser. And next, Clara Parkinson, nominated by Beth Labrie for the organization of Lincoln Museum and Cultural Center. Clara has volunteered at the Lincoln Museum during the past 18 months. She assists staff in workshops and programs, day camps, and events. Her work ethic is strong and her team spirit is contagious. Clara embraces all that volunteering has to offer at the museum and throughout the community in various capacities. Thank you, Clara. Olivia Whittle, nominated by Beth Labrie for Lincoln Museum and Cultural Center. Olivia has volunteered for the Lincoln Museum since she was in grade 5, reaching over 140 hours. Now in grade 7, she gives of her time with enthusiasm and team spirit, making each participant in our camps, workshops, and programs feel valued and successful. Thank you, Olivia, for your staunch loyalty and dedication. Ava Whittle, nominated by Beth Labrie for the organization Lincoln Museum and Cultural Center. Ava has also volunteered at the Lincoln Museum for over 2 years. She engages with our youth in camp and programs, assisting staff, prepping materials, and cleaning. She takes initiative to make our museum visitors, the young and the young at heart, feel welcome, making their visit an experience and creating memories. Ava is always saying yes to volunteer opportunities and making a positive impact throughout the community. Thank you, Ava. Veda Rotella, nominated by Beth Labrie for the organization Lincoln Museum and Cultural Center. Veda brings her strong work ethic, team spirit, and shares her gifts and talents when volunteering at the museum. Her exuberant nature helps to make each camper feel supported and successful. She has also found volunteering through VR Pro Inc. at local races that benefit various local charities like the Unhoused or women's shelters. With her quiet confidence, a need to put people first, and to make a difference in the world, Veda exemplifies a good Lincoln citizen, and we know that we will see great things from her to come. Okay. Next, Anthony Van Engelen, nominated by Nicole Abbas, and the organization is Community Care of West Niagara. Anthony has been volunteering with Community Care of West Niagara for just over a year, focusing on donation pickups and client deliveries, and has started sharing his significant expertise in creating forms that are used in the warehouse daily. Anthony is also involved with the local Housing Select Committee, advocating for solutions to help unhoused folk in our community and find real solutions. Thank you, Anthony. Stuart Reimer, nominated by Nicole Abbas for the Organization of Community Care of West Niagara. Stuart has served on the Board of Directors of Community Care West Niagara for a total of 12 years. He has fulfilled this role passionately with a steadfast commitment to the organization's mission, vision, and values. He has gone above and beyond to support the strategic advancements of Community Care West Niagara during and after business hours. Thank you for your continued tireless commitment and your effort to the community, Stuart. Okay, this one is a group one. The Heritage Advisory Committee of the Town of Lincoln. If you want to come all up at the same time, that would be great. You are nominated by Monica for the Heritage Advisory Committee of the Town of Lincoln. The Heritage Advisory Committee is being recognized for its outstanding commitment to preserving, promoting, and celebrating Lincoln's rich cultural heritage. A key contribution is their extensive research to identify properties for heritage designation and to prepare thorough designation reports grounded in historical and architectural investigation. Their work has directly supported the formal designation of multiple heritage properties, strengthening long-term protection and creating a valuable record for future generations. The committee also raises public awareness through community engagement, increasing the profile of local heritage. Their combined behind-the-scenes and public-facing efforts make them highly deserving of the Good Citizen Award. Thank you. Okay, Steve Groschot. I should probably mention, I apologize if I mispronounce anybody's name. Steve was nominated by Sarah Roth for the Brick and Beam, the new coffee store in town. Steve is an exemplary candidate for the Good Citizen Award, demonstrating kindness, integrity, and leadership through both his professional life and his commitment to the community. Steve had a vision to create a space that is an inclusive environment that fosters unity and strengthens community spirit, and opened the Brick and Beam. Steve's ability to recognize community needs and act on them, combined with his service-oriented career and passion for mentoring others, demonstrates a deep and genuine commitment to making a positive impact. Thank you, Steve. Okay, Brenda Zawalik and Diana Grenkow. They were nominated by the Heritage Gift Shop for the Heritage Gift Shop. Sisters Brenda and Diana give freely of their time and talent in many ways. Along with assisting in the production and distribution of the famous fudge, they help customers and are among the first to volunteer for the many unanticipated tasks that arise in an enterprise that is run completely by a small group of volunteers. Whether in the shop or in community events, they are here for us. Thank you. Cal Loney. He was nominated by Jim Bucknell for things, among other things, the International Plowing Match and his help there. Calvin Loney is an integral part of our Lincoln community, preserving history, and he is a catalyst for community spirit. As a volunteer for the International Plowing Match, Cal coordinated much of the setup for the tractor, steam engine, and so much more. With his tractor, he is a staple at community events to which children and adults alike look forward to every year. Thank you, Cal. Ken Foster, nominated by Paula Brick, Association, the Jordan Station United Church. For over 40 years, Ken Foster has served his community of Jordan Station, giving generously of his time, talents, and funds to promote unity, inclusion, and a positive community spirit. Always willing to lend a hand, he has also assisted other local nonprofit organizations with their fundraising events when needed. Ken's passion for the people within our community and his willingness to serve have left a meaningful and lasting impact. Thank you, Ken. Pat Conkle, nominated by Paula Brick for the Jordan Station United Church. Throughout her life, Pat Conkle has led by example to promote unity, inclusion, and positive community spirit. Giving generously of her time and talents for over 60 years, she has graciously served our community and left a meaningful and lasting impact for its residents. Pat has spent countless hours generously giving of her time, upbeat, positive manner, and keen organizational abilities to make the town of Lincoln a better place. Thank you, Pat. And lastly, on behalf of Caroline Willem, is her husband, Dave Willem. Caroline was nominated by Paula Brick for the Jordan Station United Church. Until her sudden passing in October 2025, Caroline Willem led by example with kindness, compassion, and integrity to promote unity, inclusion, and a positive community spirit within the town of Lincoln. A 30-year member of the Jordan Historical Museum of the 20 Volunteer Association and a Heritage Gift Shop volunteer, Carolyn generously donated her time and efforts to raise awareness of the importance of and the funds for building a museum to honor the history of the town of Lincoln. Generous with her time and spirit, Carolyn has left a lasting positive impact on her community. She will be missed. Thank you, Carolyn. So please join me in congratulating them all, and I will ask that we just take a brief moment to do the group photo. Thank you.
All right, everyone, we'll move on. Things have just significantly heated up. Counselor? All right. That was pretty good. Big crowd. All right. Well, I was just saying things are significantly heating up now because Mayor Ray Conkle has decided that he's going to stay for the rest of the meeting. It's all right. The regional chair has got her eye on you, so don't worry. All right. The next part of the agenda is to present to the recipients of the Mayor's Medal as follows, and I think I'll be calling people up in groups. So the first team is Robert and Rodney Bierhausen from Sunrise Greenhouses, and they are being recognized for their work and leadership in the greenhouse sector. Robert and Frances Bierhausen founded Sunrise Greenhouses located in Vineland Station back in 1982. They now function out of a million square feet. Is that right? 1 million square feet. Good heavens. Of growing space and are a local treasure in the community. Whilst Robert is still involved in the business, he, along with other family members, are still involved in the business. He is also the recipient of numerous awards during his career, including the Senate Medal in 2017. And I think that you'll remember at Christmas time there was a wonderful plant that was moving around the community, very glossy leaves, red berries, just loaded with red berries. The story that I heard was this was a plant that had been discovered at VRIC in a cupboard, in a book. Rodney was on the board, I think, brought it out, started to reproduce it. Is all that true, Robert? Yes. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so this is very important award that we're giving this evening. And so we'll move on to Rodney because he's catching up to his dad pretty fast. He's the co-owner in the family business and the head grower. He leads production, innovation, and maintenance. And he has inherited his father's forward-thinking vision for leveraging automation technology in the greenhouse. They've also partnered in the past with Vineland Research and Innovation Center. In 2023, Rodney was recognized as Grower of the Year, and he is currently president of Flowers Canada. As a leader in the greenhouse industry, they are considered, Sunrise Greenhouses, is considered by many throughout the country to be expert in both horticultural production and energy management programs and services. They have led the company to develop and implement greenhouse equipment, including table stackers, packaging equipment, and energy efficiency technologies. The array of innovation that is housed at Sunrise Greenhouses is able to lift up the market in Lincoln and the surrounding area, making the industry more competitive and successful. So I know that one or both of you wish to speak, so if you would come to the microphone, and then I'll meet you in the corner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for the opportunity to say a few words. First of all, I want to thank Mayor Easton and Council for the honor of receiving this medal. However, I truly believe this medal belongs to all the people involved in the greenhouse sector in the town of Lincoln. Yes, I contributed to our industry roles in the town of Lincoln, but this journey really started in 2014 when Mayor Easton was elected and showed an immediate interest in our greenhouse sector. She encouraged the establishment of the Greenhouse Grower Alliance of Lincoln, which later led to the Niagara Greenhouse Growers. She also coined the phrase, "We are the center of the floriculture in Canada," and led Lincoln establishment as a center for agricultural excellence. On many occasions, she joined us for tours of our greenhouse operations. In 2015, we hosted the King and Queen of the Netherlands at Cosmic Flower Farms, a fantastic showcase of Lincoln's potential. In 2016, we visited the Canadian Greenhouse Conference in Niagara Falls, where she met the Consul General from the Embassy of the Netherlands. This connection sparked a highly successful delegation trip to Holland, highlighting the sector's vast opportunities. To quote the mayor herself, "With care, Lincoln is sitting on a bubble of entrepreneurship and investment in rebuilds and startup companies to support the greenhouse and horticultural sectors." I think it's now Rod's turn to take over from here. He just jumped that on me at the last minute, so go ahead.
So in the spirit of what Councillor Rintma mentioned earlier, the next several months will be spent reflecting on the achievements of Mayor Easton. And in the spirit of this innovation, what's led to the establishment of a new business in Lincoln called Bench Breeding, a company named after the unique benchlands of the Niagara region. In cooperation with local growers, we are developing new plant varieties to eliminate offshore royalty payments, which equal tens of millions of dollars a year. We're bringing that to Lincoln. As recognition for your efforts, we would like to honor your legacy by naming our newest plant variety, Madam Mayor Campanula. Mayor Easton and Council, thank you again for the honor of this medal and your continued support of our greenhouse sector and, more importantly, our community as a whole.
I could always remember the name of this one. That was a big surprise, and I'm very honored by your consideration. Thank you, Robert and Rodney. Our next team is Ian Potter and Darby McGrath from Vineland Research and Innovation Center, and they are being recognized for their work and leadership in agricultural leadership. Ian has been the president and CEO since April of 2019. And he is an experienced executive who leads a highly successful team of 81 full-time staff and 18 research scientists. Vineland Research and Innovation Center, VRIC, is a world-class center that is dedicated to horticultural science and innovation. Their mission is to improve the economic viability, sustainability, and competitiveness of horticulture in Canada. In 2024, Ian was a recipient of a King Charles III Coronation Medal. Darby joined Vineland Research and Innovation Center in 2013 as a research scientist. In 2018, she was named Program Leader for Plant Responses and the Environment Program, also leading Vineland's Greening the Landscape Research Consortium. In 2022, Darby was promoted to Vice President of Research and Development, and in this leadership role, she guides the direction of Vineland's innovation portfolio to maximize real-world impact with a team of more than 50 scientists and technicians. VRIC staff have successfully collaborated with the town of Lincoln on a number of important projects throughout the community. These include a park and major community improvement project in Jordan Village utilizing principles of environmental sustainability. Together with Brock University's Environmental Sustainability Research Center, VRIC signed an MOU with the town to work together to generate innovative and evidence-based solutions for one of this community's upcoming landmark development projects, Prudhoms. The next recipient is Debbie Zimmerman from the Grape Growers of Ontario. And Debbie is being recognized for her work and leadership in the grape growing industry. Debbie has been the CEO of Grape Growers of Ontario since 2003, having previously been actively involved in politics for 36 years, including alderman in Grimsby, regional councillor, and 2 terms as regional chair. As CEO, she represents hundreds of grape-growing farm families. 500? Just about. Pretty close. Okay. Across the province, many of them here in Niagara. The Grape Growers of Ontario was founded in 1947 and is a regulated marketing board that acts as the voice for grape growers and wineries. She has strengthened their reputation, fought for fairness in the industry, and moved the entire industry forward. The GCO fosters innovation through research and supports the next generation of growers through its Next Gen Committee, that would be the GGO. Whether it is hosting the annual Grape Growers Luncheon to celebrate the industry and crowning the annual Grape King, man or woman, still the king, Debbie is a strong advocate for women in the industry, and this year's Grape King is from right here in Lincoln. So, Debbie, it's my pleasure. Now, I must say that our next recipient is someone who I think has been hiding in the background. She won't thank us for this award, but it is absolutely essential for Sarah Marshall to be recognized this evening. Sarah is from the Ontario Tender Fruit Board, is being recognized for her work and leadership in irrigation advocacy. Now, Sarah is the manager, and if anybody in this room knows anything about irrigation, this is a project that we have been struggling with for more than 20 years. And it has not been an easy road, but with Sarah's help, she, because of her role as the manager of the Ontario Tender Fruit Growers, represents farmers across the province growing apples, peaches, pears, nectarines, plums, apricots, and cherries. Sarah is being recognized, however, for her work as part of the Niagara Irrigation Strategic Plan that was completed in late 2017, with support and funding through a federal, provincial, territorial initiative alongside Niagara Peninsula Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association and grape and tender fruit growers in Ontario. She has been part of a group of people who have provided invaluable guidance and input to the issues of irrigation governance, identifying principles and considerations for a critical resource of water supplies to support farmers. Expanding pipe systems is an active development with the completion by the end of 2026 following provincial funding received in summer 2025. And access to this water also includes the irrigation farmers that are in our community. So over 20 years, with a lot of different people going in and out of a project, you can imagine how things kind of fall off, get lost, nothing happens. And then somebody comes along and does a big review. And if the cost of the review wasn't enough, Debbie, you must have been involved in this, wasn't enough, it literally just died because it was so costly that nobody thought it would ever happen. But I must say, the late Jim Bradley, we couldn't make any headway through Ag Policy Committee. Went to Jim Bradley, I said, Jim, you love farmers, you need to do this for farmers. We needed a staff member that would just look after this project because Sarah was up to this point doing everything, keeping everything together. And so, Sarah, it really is an honor to see and to honor you this evening, because I feel that without your cooperation and leadership and your ability to keep everybody in the right place at the right time, it couldn't have happened. And even when the consultants came to get this pilot started, and it happened through Lisa MacLeod, the minister, it was just, I don't know how to express it. It just all of a sudden started to come alive, and it really appeared that it was going to start happening. But you were that linchpin, and I'm really glad that Jim did what he needed to do, which was to make sure we had a staff member. You were on the outside, and when the money came forward, everything was set up. So thank you so much for your willingness and your tenacity. The next team on the agenda is Jan and Jane Stolp. and they are being recognized for their culinary work and their leadership at the Grand Oak Culinary Market. And I didn't know it at the time, but they're really getting this because they now serve breakfast. If you haven't been, you need to go. Starts at 7:30 in the morning. I made sure I was the first person there on the first day. The Stolp family, led by Chef Jan and Jane, purchased the property in 2011, and they've transformed the building by starting the business from the ground up. Grand Oak Culinary Market is not a typical marketplace, and it's known for its lunch service. It's known for its breakfast, its lunch service, in-store bakery, specialty cheese and charcuterie counter, gifts, event space, and catering. Chef Jan brought his culinary expertise from other local restaurant and winery establishments to create food that is of excellent quality at fair prices. They pride themselves on using locally sourced fruits, vegetables, and artisanal products. One of the most important parts of the business is something that Jane is passionate about, and that is customer service. Their family business was inspired by what they stand for: consistency, dependability, and building long-term relationships with their patrons. They are also fortunate to have a living thing designated by the town, a 400-year-old grand oak tree after which the property is named and protected under the Ontario Heritage Act on the property. So it's great pleasure. We have many new businesses in town, and it is our pleasure to be recognizing you this evening. You've put so much effort into it, and the quality and outcomes are so great. Thank you. Next medals will be presented to Tim Johnson, Brian Kahn, and Derek Pond. They are all Indigenous leaders and are being recognized for their work and leadership in advancing Indigenous relations. Tim Johnson has been working for years to change the public perception of Indigenous people and history in the Niagara region. He is a Mohawk, a direct descendant of the historic Mohawk leader Joseph Brant, and a member of the Six Nations of the Grand River. He is director of the Landscape of Nations, 360 Indigenous Education Initiative, and was the former associate director for museum programs at the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of the American Indian. He has managed the production of world-class and critically acclaimed exhibitions, award-winning publication media, exceptional educational products designed for homes and classrooms across North America, and exhilarating cultural programs. Tim has been a consultant for the town on anything related to our Indigenous work as well as historical signage. As part of a group of Indigenous advisors who is involved in the consultation and discussions on naming options for a renovation project renaming the Jordan Hollow Park to Soirée Zone Park. Brian Kahn. Brian Kahn has become an internationally recognized visual artist from the Métis community, using his art as a platform to help tell the story of Indigenous people. He owns and operates a diversity management consulting company dedicated to helping businesses and organizations better understand minority populations. The main focus is to help organizations meet their social and legal responsibilities of provincial and national legislation. Brian is also chair of the Niagara Region Métis Council. In addition to his duties as an elected representative and citizen of the Métis Nation of Ontario, and he volunteers his time with local schools to help educate students and teachers about Métis culture and heritage. Brian has received numerous awards and recognition for his work. Derek Pont is a Métis artist who takes pride in his ancestral roots. He currently serves as the president of the Niagara Region Métis Council for the Métis Nations of Ontario, whose mission is to unite the Métis people and to promote the historical values, culture, language, and traditions of the Métis Nation. He has dedicated 18 years to the council since joining in 2008, and being elected chair in the first year, and now in his fourth term. He has spent over a decade sharing the Métis way of life and history with students. He also spent 15 years volunteering with Scouts Canada and continues to inspire young learners. Derek was also a recipient of a Good Citizen Award back in 2018. Please join me in congratulating them. The next item on the agenda is the Above and Beyond Awards, and our CAO, Mike Kirkopoulos, will provide introductory comments regarding the awards being presented and the recipients. Go ahead, CAO Kirkopoulos.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to take a moment to recognize members of our team through the Above and Beyond Awards, which are also affectionately known as the CAO Awards. So here's where I get a little bit of prerogative and an opportunity to recognize a lot of the staff that I get to see do a lot of work behind the scenes, the extra effort, the teamwork, and the pride in serving our community. These awards are about recognizing those who consistently step up, bring forward ideas, support one another, and go the extra mile. Our first Above and Beyond Award winner is for customer service, and it is Stephanie Fanton. Stephanie was nominated by Courtney Corbeil in the Economic Development, Tourism, Communications, and Culture Department. And her nomination reads, "It is with great enthusiasm that we nominate Steph for the Customer Service Award. Steph joined our team as a museum assistant, but her contributions extend far beyond her formal role. Since she began, we have seen a notable increase in donations, a success we can directly attribute to her friendly and engaging conversations with visitors. She is approachable, has a positive demeanor, and it is felt throughout the museum and beyond. She now also supports our customer service and communications teams, always bringing the same dedication and enthusiasm to every task. No matter the role, she proactively looks for ways to assist both colleagues and guests, often anticipating needs before they arise. Steph embodies the highest standards of customer service. Her dedication, positivity, and natural ability to connect with people make her an outstanding and invaluable member of our team. She exemplifies the spirit of excellent customer service, and her impact on both our team and the community is truly remarkable, making her a deserving recipient of this award. Please join me in congratulating Steph, and I'll ask Andrea to present her with her award. And our next award is the Team Spirit Award, and this is the last award of the evening. And this is for the town's Valentine Day civil ceremony promotion. The nominators were Julie Kirkolos and Liliana Busnello, and this award goes to Larissa Doig, who's not here, Sarah Wild, also not here this evening, but we do have Savannah Prokopets, Lindsay Comley, and Deanna Phillips, as well as Jennifer Blackledge, who will be receiving this award. This recognition celebrates a staff-led initiative that brought creativity, collaboration, and community impact together. Larissa, our legislative assistant, demonstrated outstanding initiative by proposing a Valentine's Day civil ceremony event at Town Hall. What began as a simple idea became a meaningful community experience that also generated new municipal revenue. Larissa led the effort from start to finish, coordinating couples, managing logistics, and working across departments with the community partners to deliver a professional and memorable event. This success was supported by our clerk's office. She co-opted Deanna, then the communications team, particularly Sarah and Savannah, and of course our community partners, including the BIA and Jennifer. All helped promote the event and engage local businesses. On the day of the event, it was a true team effort, resulting in a welcoming and celebratory experience for all involved. Because of this success, the program will now become an annual offering with potential to grow in the future. This initiative reflects the very best of our organization, our creativity, teamwork, and going above and beyond for our community. Once again, please join me in congratulating the entire team for their outstanding work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO Kirkopoulos, and congratulations to all of the staff. We're very proud of you, all of council, myself, and you certainly deserve the awards that have been presented to you this evening. Councilors, item number 10 is delegations and presentations, and I am very pleased to have representatives from the Niagara Regional Police Services with us this evening. We'll just wait a couple of minutes, Chief, until everyone who's moving has done that. There's a lot of really interesting things coming up. You're going to miss all the fun. Thank you all. So we really just wanted to impress you that we could fill up a room, Chief, but in fact, that's what happens. Anyway, I thank you very much for waiting so patiently, but every once in a while, we do recognize members of the community a couple of times a year, but we're very glad that you're here and can see what the normal part of work is really all about. So for the purposes of council and members of the public who are watching, I want to let you know that the Niagara Regional Police Services are here this evening. We have Chief Forty, who's at the podium now. We have Chair Capasavanu. Pretty good? Yeah. Pretty good? Staff Sergeant Bourgeois. Deputy Chief Lagroteria. And here to provide an update presentation is the chief, and he'll be more than the time allotment. Have I missed anybody?
I can cover it off if you like.
Yes.
Your Worship.
The last one that I mentioned was Deputy Chief Lagroteria.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. As you referenced, I'm joined by the chair of our board, Narai Capasavanu. She has significant global experience providing stewardship of entities like our police service. Deputy Chief Lagroteria, who oversees community services inclusive of our traffic and core units. So I understand there may be some questions that he would be poised to jump at. With him as well as Superintendent Sean Perron. Sean is the superintendent that works below Mario and oversees the district, including Inspector Gomez and Staff Sergeant Bourgeois. And I'm also joined by Stephanie Sabrin, who is our manager of corporate communications. So if I could, I would first like to start by, recognizing your lifetime of service. I know, and we all know, that you were a nurse practitioner, a registered nurse. You have several terms on council. You really have a lifetime of service to community, and as you are going to be not running, I just wanted to say thank you for your service to the citizens of the region.
Thank you very much, Chief.
And in keeping with your comments when you were introducing me, I have to say that it's not very often the police are summoned to an event where there are people receiving Good Citizen Awards. We don't get these types of calls. The development of community events, what I started to make notes: community building, excellence in grape growing, culinary expertise, irrigation, very important matters with our Indigenous communities with Mr. Khan, and then above and beyond in team spirit. We don't get those calls for service very often. We respond to calls where there's somebody that's had something, or in some cases somebody taken from them. So it's our pleasure to be here today. The staff sergeant will do a presentation. He'll walk through some prepared materials, and then, as you reference, we will take any questions that you might have on any issue that is top of mind for you. And depending on the nature of the question, either the staff sergeant, superintendent, deputy chief, myself, whoever's best positioned to answer that question, we'll provide our best efforts. And there may be one or two where somebody makes a comment and then one of us might top it up in an effort to provide a fulsome response. So,
That sounds great.
okay, thank you, Your Worship.
And so we're not going to worry about the time, because it's been a while since you've been here, and we're really pleased that you allowed us to summon you. That's a bit of a change. But thank you for enjoying the first part of the meeting, because those feel-good moments aren't always available to police officers every day of the week, so you need to share in that sometime as well. So you go ahead now.
Okay, thank you. I'll invite Staff Sergeant Bourgeois up to the podium, and maybe I'll just make
Sure.
side over here. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Staff Sergeant.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Again, thank you, Mayor, and what slide are we on here? Oh, okay. Can we go to the next one? Thank you. Is it this here? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Again, thank you, Mayor and members of council, for having us here today. Our service continues to move forward with a clear focus, community-centered policing. Over the past several years, we've invested in leadership, engagement, and transparency, because that's what residents consistently tell us matter most. Through consultations for our strategic plan and other service initiatives, the message has been clear. People want a modern, accountable police service that listens and adapts. Everything we do is rooted in that purpose, protecting the safety and well-being of everyone across the region, including here in Lincoln. This slide shows our projected calls for service across the entire region. As you can see, demand continues to rise and is expected to keep increasing over the next several years. The chart before you shows what's been driving demand over the last 3 years. Traffic and road safety remain the largest category, a clear priority for residents. When you layer in social disorder and administrative calls, these areas account for nearly half of all demand. It reinforces that day-to-day policing in Lincoln is largely about service delivery, public safety, and quality of life concerns. A considerable share of that demand also comes from high complexity situations, often non-criminal or hybrid in nature, including mental health calls, domestic conflicts, and violent incidents. These incidents are typically time-intensive, requiring coordination across agencies and ongoing follow-up. It's a clear reminder that policing doesn't operate in isolation. It's part of a broader network of community support. Our deployment reflects these realities: visible patrols, strong road safety enforcement, and early intervention with community partners when issues arise. This heat map shows police activity across Niagara region. The highest call volumes are in our larger urban centers, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, and Welland, while we also see notable activity in Grimsby and Lincoln, reflecting growth, with Lincoln showing moderate but steady demand across the town. This reinforces the need for balanced deployment, maintaining strong local presence while supporting regional response when required. Looking specifically at the town of Lincoln, in 2025, calls are mainly focused in the Ontario Street area north of King Street, which, as you know, is an area that has had significant growth of both residential and commercial development in recent years. We also look at overall harm, which is driven by the nature of calls reported. In 2025, the overall harm in Lincoln did rise, driven by a number of specific offense types. Break-and-enters became the top contributor to harm, surpassing motor vehicle thefts. Vehicle thefts and thefts from motor vehicles also continued to rise, consistent with regional and provincial trends. Calls continued to peak in the late afternoon and evening, particularly in the warmer months. In 2025, officers issued 568 speeding tickets and 129 warnings in Lincoln, which was a 48% increase over 2024. And this morning I checked our stats year-to-date for today, and effective today we're on pace to surpass last year's number by over 50% again. We continue to run focused enforcement projects, especially in rural areas where speeding concerns are common. These initiatives are driven by our officers deployed from our 8-district detachment and by our regional traffic enforcement unit, which enhances our frontline service delivery. We also work closely with Niagara Region Vision Zero initiative, which focuses on reducing injuries and fatalities on our roadways. For residents with specific traffic concerns, our traffic hotline is the best way to reach our enforcement team directly. The phone number, email, and online form allow us to direct patrols where they're needed most, and we can report back on action taken. This information is promoted regularly on our website and social media to ensure the community knows how to reach us. On the topic of social media, if you or Lincoln residents have access to social media but are not currently following us, I encourage you to do so. We provide education to the public, offer crime prevention tips, showcase the impressive work being done by our members, and when active calls are ongoing, which may impact residents in the area, notifications and updates are posted. The Police Services Board 2026-2029 Strategic Plan introduces a coordinated set of initiatives focused on prevention, early intervention, and stronger partnerships. At the center is an integrated crime prevention and harm reduction strategy, which brings together proactive enforcement and community-based prevention to address repeated harm more effectively. Supporting this are the neighborhood presence initiatives that strengthen visibility and trust, and the offender management and supervision platform, which enhances monitoring of repeat and high-harm offenders. Our plan also includes strategies for emergency preparedness, road and public space safety, human trafficking prevention, youth engagement, mental health and addiction response, and gender-based violence prevention. Together, these initiatives form a practical, evidence-based roadmap designed to improve safety outcomes across Niagara. This slide is an example of hotspot mapping in Lincoln that initially started as a pilot project in downtown Niagara Falls and has recently been implemented region-wide. The red hexagons highlight areas with recent disorder or criminal activity where locations experience higher frequency of calls for service. I should reference this is a stock photo, so don't interpret where the hexagons are, please. When officers conduct directed patrols in those areas, the hexagons shift from red to green, showing the area has been addressed and all time spent in these areas are tracked. This gives supervisors real-time visibility on deployment, supports accountability, and ensures resources are focused where they're needed most. This slide highlights our See Something, Say Something initiative, which many of you have seen on our social media platforms. The message behind it is simple. If you see something concerning or a victim of the crime, please report it. This applies to any type of crime or suspicious activity. If something doesn't seem right, report it. Don't assume that someone will or already has. Police can't address issues that we're not aware of. The information that we receive from the public plays an important role in how we analyze crime patterns and shape how we deploy our resources across the community. Officers at 8 District remain active in community engagement throughout the year. You'll see frontline members walking the beat, connecting with residents, businesses, and community groups. Our officers continue to partner with the town, the region, and the Ontario Provincial Police, as well as the MTO, to conduct commercial motor vehicle truck enforcement. We also participate in Touch-a-Truck events, where families get a closer look at our equipment and have the opportunity to speak with our officers. These initiatives reflect our commitment to being present, accessible, and connected, not just responding to calls, but building relationships with our community. And thank you, and we'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Staff Sergeant. And first we have Councillor Brunet. Whoops. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Thank you very much for all of you for being here this evening. Appreciate the presentation. Wanted to preface any of my comments by by saying over the last 3 terms, over the last 12 years, I've had the opportunity to work with chairs and vice chairs of Public Works, along with our Director of Public Works, Dave Graham. And we really appreciate all the work that you guys have done along with the MTO, with the bypass, cameras and everything on the Vineland weigh scales, and the work along Victoria Avenue and King Street, and all the blitzes that we've been doing, and the violations and the trucks that we're pulling off the road. So we really appreciate all the efforts that you guys have been doing. So that said, over the last 6 or 8 months, we worked to do a truck bylaw restriction for 30 Road and for Mountain View Road for trucks over 15,000 kilograms. That was not an easy process. It was one that we needed to involve the town of Grimsby as well as the town of Lincoln, work with 2 councils, and bring bylaws forward to change the restrictions on those 2 roads, on Mountain View and 30 Road. So that work came about specifically because the Niagara Regional Police and the MTO came to us in collaboration to get some of these trucks off the road. We were having issues, especially on 30 Road, where in the wintertime, trucks are trying to go up, they get stuck, they can't get back down, it causes congestion, and the road is basically, beyond any passage up or down. So we appreciate very much all the work that has got us to where we are today. But for those residents that are at home listening on YouTube, what can you tell us, because the enforcement is what will make this program successful. And we knew that going in. And so our Director of Public Works worked very closely with your group, and especially Constable Alderson. I got to put a shout out to Constable Alderson. He was really, really instrumental in us getting this across the finish line. But as we sit here today, we have residents saying trucks are still going up and down those roads, and we don't see any police presence. There's no enforcement. I'm wondering if you could make a comment to our residents that are asking us in both the Grimsby and the Lincoln Council as to what we're doing about it.
There has been enforcement on that area. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I can see the number of tickets. I can query the number of tickets that have been issued for a certain type of offense or within a certain area, and trucks are being stopped. When we run our commercial motor vehicle blitzes, we actually bring in additional officers. We know where the bypass routes are, and we hire additional officers to patrol those areas specifically for the sake of identifying. And I'm not going to go into all the investigative techniques because some of them you guys have invested in, and I don't think YouTube's quite the place to share our coordinated investigative efforts with. But we do hire additional officers to track those areas where we know trucks are bypassing, and we do stop them and we do pull them over. When we aren't doing our commercial motor vehicle blitz days, as they're commonly referred to, we are stopping trucks. While somebody maybe living on 30 Road isn't seeing it, just because the truck's not being stopped necessarily in front of their house doesn't mean that truck's not being stopped. Do we get every truck that bypasses through? No, we have other calls for service, and we have to triage everything appropriately.
So through you, Madam Mayor, I appreciate that response very much, and I'm wondering, because I believe this is all about collaboration, you can't do it without the MTO can't do it without you, and we certainly can't do it without either one of you. If our staff were to reach out to you or to the appropriate people, is it possible to get, some sort of data as to how we're doing on that, so that we have that? Is that something that can be, any terms? I'm not looking for specifics.
Yeah.
But I'm just, you're saying you're present. There's enforcement. Is that information can be shared to our staff so that we're aware of it? Because I can tell you that we are getting calls from residents where people are saying there's a truck, and I'm not going to name names, but a company that's coming down, and then we're trying to share that information with you to help collaboratively for enforcement. So I think it's important that we work together. I'm just wondering if you could comment with regards to that.
And I'm going to address your second point first, because it was actually part of the presentation. I appreciate that your constituents call you, and then hopefully you call us. We're now getting that information third hand. I would encourage your constituents to call us. that way we're getting the information directly from them. I see Dave over in the corner. Dave and I probably talk weekly, and as well as CAO Kirkopoulos and I do communicate regularly, and we do share information back and forth.
Okay, that's great. I see the
Hear
chief.
the chief getting up.
Thanks, Dylan. And through you, Mayor, I think you raise a really important issue. And when Dylan was going through his presentation, one of his slides said, see something, say something. I can tell you that every community that we go to, they want to see more of us. But a big part of our service delivery is the reliance on evidence and data. Part of our evidence and data that we rely on are complaints. So if there is a particular road in your community or particular constituents that are seeing offenses, I think it's great that they have the confidence in yourself that they're reaching out to you, but we really need to know. I'll give you an example. There was another community that we went to, and I got a call from an elected official, and she said, I'm on a Facebook group. There's a whole raft of people that have had their cars broken into. I sent it to the district commander. He said, we haven't had any cars broken into. So this communication was living in social media, but it wasn't coming to us. And then once it came to us, we can direct our patrol. So your point is a really good one, and we really need to work with the community. You know, we respond to calls for service for the most part, and when we know there's a problem, we can come. So I appreciate you raising the question. It's a really good one.
That's great. Thank you very much. Madam Mayor, if I can continue with my second question. So we have a very large park that is part of the Lincoln community, Charles Daly Park. I don't have to go into any details of some activities that have been taking place there over the last period of time. This is a public park that we want people to come to this park and feel welcoming and feel comfortable and feel safe when they come to that park. However, this park is on the Queen Elizabeth Highway. It's not a neighborhood park like a lot of our parks are in. So again, you know, what we hear through the community is, as a family, we can no longer go to that space. We do not feel comfortable. We do not feel safe. So I'm wondering, as you are in front of us tonight, and I'm going to direct this to Chief Forty, I'm wondering what you could say to our residents with specifically keeping Charles Daly Park safe for not only the Lincoln community, but for anyone that uses that space. Because again, we have people coming on the Queen Elizabeth Highway that are stopping there just for a rest, and they see the space and they want to experience it.
Thank you for your question, through you, Mayor. The people who live in our communities having the ability to enjoy public spaces is fundamentally important to our organization. In the last year, I'm going to say 8 months ago, we changed our posture with respect to our enforcement activity in public places like parks, the one you're referencing, to one whereby law enforcement across the country had tried to really educate our way out of social challenges and problems, the intersection of illicit drug use and mental health, to we had moved away from enforcement. We have reintroduced that in the region, and we've seen significant positive results as a result of that. So what I would say to the citizens of the communities and those that attend the park, and there's been some terrible offenses that have taken place there, and we're sensitive to that. Again, I would say to them, we hear you, we have changed our posture, we are seeing the benefits of that change, and you know, we want people to go back to the parks, and we want people to feel comfortable taking their children to the park or walking by other public spaces, taking kids to school, things like that. So we are 100% in alignment with the concerns that you've addressed, and we have changed our posture. Our core unit that the deputy chief and superintendent oversee, they have seen really positive results. They may not be visible every day, but when you start to add up them over with the passage of time over the last 8 months, we did a report to our police board in April. As a result of the 6 month mark, we're going back again in another 6 months. We are alive to the potential that weather plays a fact, so we are staying focused on it so that everybody in the region can enjoy public spaces the way they should be.
Of the regional budget. So I think it's really important that your chair of the Police Services Board is here this evening, and we appreciate everything that you do, that you bring to our community. And I just want to thank you very much for the presence this evening.
Deputy Chief, did you want to speak? Thank you.
There we go.
Chair, sorry, we're having a technical issue right now. Sorry to interrupt there. Can we just do a recess for maybe 2 minutes until IT has a chance to get us back online? Thank you.
Okay, 2-minute recess.
Was it because of Mario?
We'll resume the meeting now. Deputy Chief, would you please go ahead?
Thanks, and through you, Mayor, just to top up on the Chief and Staff Sergeant Bourgeois' response with regards to Charles Daly, or any park for that matter. We do have our community-oriented response and engagement unit that is regional, where we can deploy out in addition to the officers and the assistance that Dylan can provide at the district level. We can work with the municipalities with regards to CEPTED, with this crime prevention through environmental design. Specific to Charles Daly, agree it's kind of out, not in the neighborhood, but to flag it as a patrol spot, whether it's foot patrols, bike patrols when we are back on the bikes, even just have the officers go through those parking lots. And we could potentially look at that space in addition to any park space to see what can we do better. I know the municipality's done a lot It is tough given the location, but with the lighting and things like that. Really coming back down to that foundation. If somebody has something to report, though, it needs to be reported. We can assume things are happening, but the more we know, then through our crime analysis and through our data analysis, everything's evidence-based, then we can adjust accordingly. Because it does come in line with times as well. Is it a Sunday morning or is it a Friday evening? You're welcome.
Deputy Chief, I just have a question that relates to Councillor Brunet's question. Are there behaviors, certain behaviors that you can identify for council if we are in certain spaces and we think that people are congregating in a manner that is not productive?
So, through you, Mayor, great question. What I would recommend is anytime we believe there's some criminal activity or nefarious action, let us know. Depending on the nature of that potential activity will depend our response. We may send out our patrol officers in essence to go police it. We have our detective offices, we have our street crime units for other types of activity that we can then more or less allocate resources to do a proper investigation. So if we are aware of something, there are ways that we can approach it depending on the nature of the actual activity we believe is happening.
That is very helpful. Otherwise, you're making a phone call, but you really don't know what to say. There's a few people here. I think there's a problem. I'm not sure. You know, I mean, you don't feel like you're really adding much to the conversation. So that is helpful. Thank you. We have Councillor Timmers. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mary Easton. All great discussion so far. Thank you, all of you, for being here tonight. I was quite happy to hear that you were going to be here tonight. And I was looking at your presentation, and I found it interesting, and I think others have probably seen it as well, that in page 4 with the bar graph, that everything dropped in lower in 2024, but yet then there was a spike in 2025. What do you attribute to that each area went down in 2024? I just find that interesting.
Good question, and through you, Mayor. Just let me familiarize myself. So appreciate the spike, really, when we're looking at the top end to that slide. I'm not sure if we can bring it back up. But for some things, it might be the difference between 250 calls and 246 calls. I can tell you we've been very much more intentional with regards to what we are doing now. I can say Staff Sergeant Bourgeois has done an exceptional job since taking over 8 District, being present, more or less providing that leadership that we want our frontline officers to have, where we are then being more proactive on things. So whether it's traffic, whether it's our park initiatives, foot patrols, things like that. Credit to Dylan, I know he's in the room, but lots more has happened over the past 1.5 years since he's been there. Plus, we have had some really excellent campaigns with the see something, say something, things like that. So social media has definitely helped as well, I would say, with what we've been bringing out or giving out to the public for them to see something and then actually call us. And then, of course, there's an increase in population and everything else that goes with it. So the more people we have, unfortunately, there are more calls for service, and based on that, we will come out and respond.
Well, that makes very good sense. So I think that message of see something, I think that's a great message, because I think people are afraid to call sometimes, or like they're not sure, or they're just afraid to make the call. So I would miss my opportunity here tonight, but I have to talk about speeding. And speeding is probably the #1 thing that most of us around this table deal with. It doesn't matter where you go, who you talk to, speeding is top of mind. And running stop signs, running four-ways, that is always the conversation, no matter what room I'm in, it seems like. So we've been working hard, putting multiple stop signs, putting big, oversized stop signs, flashing lights, yet nothing seems to really work other than if we have a police officer sitting on the side of the road. So it seems driver behavior has really changed in the last few years. I don't know if that's just my impression, but it seems that way, especially in the rural areas where they feel like, well, there's no one up here. No one's looking. So that brings me to, I'll have to identify Camden Road. Camden Road South from Fly Road to Spring Creek is an ongoing issue. It has been as long as I've lived there, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And it's speeding endlessly. Like, I'm talking 80, 90 kilometers in a 50. So that, I'm going to say that out loud here tonight so my constituents realize that I brought this issue to the table. One other question, and there's a lot of people waiting, so the other question that's a real problem is the exotic cars. Every time the exotic cars show up, and they love to drive in the rural areas because they can really speed up there, I get a lot of phone calls. So what can we do with those exotic cars? Are they following the rules of the road?
So great questions, and again, through you, Mayor, whether it's Camden, I'll start with that initial part, or anywhere, I would always recommend constituents calling us directly to that 289-248 number that we posted earlier.
Okay.
Also our email address that goes directly to our traffic complaints, as well as there's that online form. So all those complaints will get funneled through to our regional traffic. When they're aware of something that's happening within Staff Sergeant Bourgeois' portfolio, they'll let him know, but they'll also deploy their resources as well. So no different really with those exotic cars. When we know they're back, they are vehicles that are allowed on the roadway. They are permitted. How people drive those vehicles is a completely different story, which is why we then need to know. So if it is an issue that's come arise, then for us to be aware of it so we can track it, and then we could potentially deploy our resources accordingly for that. And if it's something that's a little bit more than what our frontline officers can potentially deal with, then that's where our regional traffic unit will come in, and together they'd work collaboratively, no different than you'd see with the Ministry of Transportation for those larger trucks and things like that. Really fundamentally, and I don't want to belabor it, the more we know, the better we can provide our service.
Well, I think that's a good message. So thank you. Thank you for your answers, and thank you, Mary Easton.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to all the presenters. I'm not sure who's going to jump up and take my questions. I've got about 6, but I'm going to jump out after 3. First one is very quick hitter. On your slide 7, is it possible to receive the same traffic enforcement stats for the other municipalities in Niagara? So where you referenced the 568 provincial offenses, 129 warnings, is it possible to get that for the other municipalities so we can get a little more context?
Yeah, great question through you, Mayor. Absolutely. We've gone to different municipalities and provided them same information for us to get that. That's no problem whatsoever. Okay,
thank you very much. Madam Mayor, second question. The 568 offenses seem low compared to what we hear and see hear from our residents and see anecdotally from our own standpoints. Again, it seems like it's only about a ticket and a half, almost maybe 1.7 tickets per day. How is it that we can increase your presence and then hopefully maybe lower or mitigate some of those speed and traffic concerns in our town? Again, and I know we have a lot of space. There's a lot of roads, rural, urban. I know that's there's not as many bodies around, but how do we increase that presence for you?
So good question through you, Mayor. What I will say is, regardless of the fact that it seems, I guess, not like there's a lot in Lincoln, the region's quite large. And where our officers police across 8 districts does include Lincoln, West Lincoln, and Grimsby. So we are out and about. I can say that we are looking at ways to increase our own visibility, whether it's our police markings, in our larger areas when we have police officers out and about, we're asking them to put on their high visibility jackets or hats and things like that, just for more visibility piece and for us to really be out there. I will say that, again, If there are issues in specific areas, we need to know, because then we can at least put our officers in those locations. To bring it back to the one slide with those hexagons, that hotspotting, in essence, that's what it is. So where we have information in locations where there's lots of calls for service, well then, if it warrants that kind of hexagon, that overlapping area, then we put those in there, in essence, to ensure that the officers really know where they need to go. You know, back in the day, we'd have officers who were on patrol. I know Lincoln. I know where the high crime areas are. I know what's busy, and they'd probably find themselves going through neighborhoods, making sure things are safe. What this hotspotting really does is the more calls for service we have, we really do direct our police officers where they actually need to go. So again, that's where those calls for service come into play. And we can also use our traffic complaints to also supplement that information as well. So an area like Lincoln, I'd say, the more we know of a geographical space where there's potential for the need for that traffic enforcement, then we can direct our officers there.
Okay, and just a quick follow-up on that question. So with that hotspotting, like, is that something, right now, our process currently is that when we receive, again, a number of issues or complaints from residents, we either direct that to our CAO or Director Graham, and then they are the conduits or liaisons to you. Is that still the best way for us to handle those concerns coming in and make sure that you get the proper information, or should be directing residents to contact you directly, and then also maybe ourselves following up directly? Like, what's the best way to make sure that those are actioned?
So having the luxury in my past of being a district commander, much like Dylan, in different areas, optimally it's when we're getting the information directly from the source. Appreciating, though, that they're your constituents, that you're going to want to know that they're being served accordingly, as long as that information is filtered through. But the call directly to the source absolutely helps us, because a lot of the metrics we pull come through directly our communications unit, then the location they're physically calling about, and it just gets tracked better. So best recommendation really is to call us directly, and then we go from there.
Okay, thank you. And last question, very quick hitter. And you kind of mentioned it, I think, in one of your preambles. Again, there is an increased request or that presence of having officers, again, doing foot patrols in the downtown to, again, increase that engagement opportunities with residents and just feel that overall presence. I know we used to have that back when we used to have our own Beamsville Police Department, and it seemed to be, from what I hear, is quite effective. Is that something that we can have on a regular basis, again, weather permitting, where we have those regular foot patrols or bike patrols through some of the downtown and urban areas?
So it's absolutely something we strive for, really. Depending on the day will depend on really where our officers go. But again, like I said, for Staff Sergeant Bourgeois, he's really done a good job at then making sure the officers are directed accordingly, whether that's foot patrols through those busier areas, whether they're the downtown core where we actually need the police officers to be. Bikes as well, we do have bikes. We have access to ATVs for certain trails and things like that as well. So knowing about it will then definitely put us in a position where we can say, where can we allocate our resources? I don't know if you want to top up that, Dylan? Yeah.
I can say last year, and it's continuing this year, keeping in mind that we have Grimsby, West Lincoln, and Lincoln to look after. In terms of your question about beat patrols, we were walking the beat pending call volume a minimum of twice a week within the Fleming Center area, and then what the area that you would, I think that you're referring to as the downtown area, and as well to Councillor Burnett's question, we made a point of having a call self-generate every day, where at a different time though, where we would walk through Charles Daly Park, and that originated from some conversation I had with CAO Kirkopolis.
Okay.
And I don't have an exact number, but I know it's north of 100 beat walks just in Charles Daly. So
good. Okay. Thank you very much.
Next, we move on to Councillor Pachariva. Go ahead, Councillor.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Worship. And I just want to personally thank Superintendent Perrott, who used to be the Staff Sergeant out here in West Niagara, and Staff Sergeant Bourgeois, who have been dynamite. You know, we as councillors, we get, you know, comments from residents about speeding, and then we say to them, okay, well, police can't be there all the time. So try to nail it down for us. Give us a time window. Director Graham reaches out to both of you. You have a cruiser out there. and some tickets are handed out. And that seems to deter a heck of a lot. So I want to thank you both for your diligence. But I really like this fact too, and, put it on our social medias, the towns and all of our own, to call you directly with these numbers. Like, don't be afraid. Like, we had our, Councilor Bernay and I had our ward meeting. The number one of my neighbors came up and said, you know what, it wasn't really a ward meeting, it was more like a traffic meeting. Because the big issue was speeding on Lincoln Avenue and speeding on Mountain Street. I don't want to get political, but the taking away of the speed cameras, that took a tool out of your toolbox, didn't it? Because we had those on Mountain Street, and when they were there, you could see the marked reaction of people, right? It's deterrent. What can we do going forward on those couple areas? We're doing, Director Graham's got the Black Cat radar, which will further narrow it down so we can give you guys details. But those two are the push points in our ward anyway.
Thank you. First, I would suggest that the photo radars were a tool in your guys' toolbox. They weren't run by us. They were run by the region, right? And even when we had them, we were still doing traffic enforcement. And Dave does send me periodically the map of highlighting areas of speeding concern. That information gets forwarded on to our uniform patrol supervisors who share it with their officers. And then to the hotspot mapping, I look at that map, I identify what I guess I would call the worst of the worst based upon the data that he's giving me. And it's important to understand that the data that he's giving me isn't someone's observation and their own personal belief of, I think that person's speeding. Because we do get that a lot. What Dave provides is concrete evidence. And then based upon that, I have activated hotspots in certain areas specifically for radar enforcement.
Okay, terrific. Second question, and now that the warm weather might be here, not too sure. Yeah, you and I both. I'm tired of the rain. So we're going to start getting complaints about loud exhaust vehicles, right? And ripping up and down. I mean, Councillor Timmers said, out in Camden, the swaths of motorcycles that come through. What can we do for that? I mean, I try to preface it and say, it's not a jackhammer working 8 hours beside your house. It's a quick hit nuisance, but it's a nuisance nonetheless. So looking for some direction from you.
Again, I think a big theme tonight has been contact. Call us.
Yeah.
If it is a group that's traveling through the area and there seems to be a pattern, we need to know about that so that we can be in the right area at the right time. I'm happy to hear, I think this is the first time that I've been here where I haven't been questioned about decibel levels. Not yet, so hopefully I don't get asked about that. There seems to be a belief out there that a certain decibel level, it's not in the Highway Traffic Act. Very subjective. That said, we have laid the tickets. We laid them last year, we laid them the year before. I haven't checked that today because I was going through a bunch of stats today, but I didn't get there. But we are laying those tickets. Are they as common as speeding tickets? No. But we are.
Okay. And third question, if I may, Your Worship. And again, you made a point about it, about vehicle thefts, right? And people posting these on social media, and then they're not reported. Or you go to your records and nothing's ever come in. I was a target of one. They didn't get my vehicle, they got what was inside of it, which was quite expensive. But I've changed my behavior, right? Try to put the vehicle in the garage. Don't leave that stuff in there. Lock it. Just want to get your thoughts on what people can do to safeguard themselves. Like, should their garage be empty so they can park that vehicle in there rather than have this, that, and the other thing in there? And purchase of a club, which will kind of thwart them a little bit, I would think. But, I mean, there's sophisticated rings, and they're not from here, right? We're an affluent community, 5 minutes off the QEW. They're coming in from the GTA. The ones that tried to rob me were from Hamilton, and they were career criminals. So I want to get your thoughts on that, if you don't mind.
Biggest thing to do is lock your vehicles.
Yeah.
Hands down. We do, we hear a lot of time, my vehicle was broken into. And then I can tell you from my past experience, I was in a detective office for over 10 years. We pulled the video and no, the vehicle wasn't broken into. Somebody walked up and opened the door. You need to lock your vehicles.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. In terms of garages, I guess if you can put your vehicle in your garage, that's great. I can speak from my own personal experience. My vehicle won't fit in my garage, so.
Yeah, and sorry, through you, Mayor, just to top that up too, when Dylan mentioned if you have social media accounts to follow our social media, we put a lot of information out with regards to crime prevention. We have Lock It or Lose It campaigns, which in essence is, don't leave valuables in cars and do things like that. Reminders, it seems sometimes like common sense, but really it's good reminders. We have our nighttime check, check your doors, do things like that. Even going back to the traffic piece with regards to the noise, education through our social media too. So there's part that we have, like responsible as a police service, to provide that education on what you can and can't do. So that's something you'll absolutely see. And then there's the initiatives that go with it as well. So it's really a collaborative effort, I'd say. But by following our social media, for sure, what we'll see in the next few weeks, it's been discussed at some police service boards, the idea of like a neighborhood watch. So there's a lot of areas that use social media for their geographic location. And with that, we'll see a lot of crime prevention through environmental design tips come out as well. So there's a ton of information on our website, if you're not familiar, at niagarapolice.ca, where you can go and get tips with regards to lighting and video surveillance and certain types of locks and things like that, which we are really looking at expanding, because information is key, really, right? And the more you know, then the better you can be prepared.
Having said that, you had a program with the, it was a special box where you put your keys in because the thieves can get the RFID from it if they're hanging at the front door, like things like that. Or
Yeah,
is
so that would have
something
been
you might
another
come back with?
educational piece. I
Yeah.
believe there were Faraday boxes. So
Yeah.
it's just to I guess, mask the frequency that a potential piece of equipment can pick up. So there's a lot of different things like that that we do post through our social media, and we can look at potentially driving additional, I guess, initiatives that way as well. I guess bottom line, if you follow our social media, it'd be fantastic. And there's a ton of information online as well through our police services website.
Okay, thank you very much. And not a question, Your Worship, but I just want to thank the staff sergeant who intervened in a situation we had. Someone thought they were being targeted, and Director Graham set up a little meeting with myself and him and Staff Sergeant Bourgeois and the resident. And you need a license to drive a vehicle no matter what it is. So thanks again.
Is it a sting?
All right, now we have Councillor Mikulik. Go ahead,
Thank you very
Councillor.
much. Through you to our fine police services, I always try to be friendly as possible. I never know when I cross your path, and hopefully you know me for the right reasons. So, slide 7, going back to slide 7 with regards to the, the number of tickets that are generated. When police are determining enforcement, is there a set number of hours dedicated to enforcement? I'm trying to understand this data if, well, we were a little bit slow on crime, so we had more time for enforcement. Or is it we had an extra police officer available, so we were able to do more enforcement? I'm trying to understand the allocation of police service to the town of Lincoln and how it pertains to this data.
Yeah, so great question through you, Mayor. With regards to traffic enforcement, I'd say that traffic is a core function of policing. So our frontline officers, in addition to public safety, crime prevention, criminal arrests, traffic is a fundamental responsibility that they're tasked to do. Understanding the pressures that our frontline officers are under with regards to just different types of calls, the complexity of calls that come into it, and a lot of social, I guess, disorder that maybe take up more time, which is why we've really looked to beef up our support units. Traffic enforcement is one of them. So we have a regional traffic unit in addition to what our frontline officers are doing on a day-to-day that are deployed out to areas where usually they're high complaint areas, or if it's to drive an initiative. So those are added hours, but those officers are solely dedicated to traffic enforcement. So it's not that if they're responding to something of a criminal nature, it's likely a very high priority situation where they know it's probably more important that they go assist those frontline members than continuing their traffic piece. And then in addition to our traffic unit, we've put a lot of time and effort into our core unit, our community-oriented response and engagement. And by no means is traffic their primary function, but they're in a position where then they can supplement the resources of the front line as well. So I'd love to say it's an easy formula with regards to who does what. Again, staffing comes into play as well. As a platoon commander or a staff sergeant in a district like Dillon, I definitely has an expectation that people are enforcing our traffic rules, right, of the road, and then based on the given day, based on the service demand, and then based on the amount of officers, we do have opportunities where we can actually focus a patrol. So sometimes there's traffic vehicles that are deployed from a district in addition to those frontline complement. So I mean, I'd love to say it's a certain amount of time. Optimally, as traffic's a very proactive response, so we don't have to be reactive, but in all actuality, we know we're being called quite often for that reactive piece, and I know the chief's behind me, so I might as well let him top up.
Thank you, Mario, and through you, Mayor. Your question's a really good one, and if I could, I'd like to reverse engineer it, if I could. So we know, and the mayor has asked this question at Regional Council, about the data, the analytics that we use to establish our workload. So we know that to have a 7-minute response time in a urban setting and a 10-minute response time in a rural setting, we can break that down to exactly how many police officers we need. So over the last 2 years, we've increased our frontline component by 33 each year, and we anticipate another 33 this year in order to meet our goals. When we can meet our goals to have enough first responders, our goal then is to have 40% of their time available for proactive policing, so that, you know, that they're not going call to call to call. They can then go to a hotspot and target an area. Does that make sense?
No, I appreciate that
Okay.
explanation. I think that makes excellent sense. That what's a police officer doing? What's their typical day like? I don't know. Is once upon a time they were, hey, listen, you got to write up X number of tickets by the end of the month. I don't know. That's why I asked that question. As far as like when I look at the numbers, is it a greater allocation of services to Lincoln, or is it? That's why I just asked for specifics on that.
You, Mayor. I think over the last several years, the maturity of how we are approaching these things has enhanced. We have moved from a place where we would rely on thoughts or feelings to now relying completely on evidence and data.
I think that's good. I think that's terrific that you're able to justify or explain your presence where, when, and prove to folks that this is what we're doing.
And the second part of that I'm glad that you raised is we know that we're expensive, and that in order for us to have more police officers on the ground, to be more visible, as you referenced, we need humans to do that. So we're increasing our front line, and then we're increasing our core unit, which is our community-oriented response and engagement, so we can specifically target social challenges that drive up our calls for service. So once we can drive down those calls for service, at the back end, we free up our time for our first responders.
Perfect. No,
okay.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Through you, and next question. Looking for efficiencies, and you know, I take a look and I see police officers directing traffic. I see police officers doing things that I feel somebody that was trained at Niagara College with a securities degree could be doing. Is there any consideration, or has there been any discussion at your level to perhaps create this sort of a division amongst your force where you don't necessarily need somebody armed with a gun and physical training to, take down violent threats when it's just, let's say, directing traffic or working a parade. And I see the auxiliary officers, but a lot of times I see police officers doing things that I feel you don't need a gun necessarily or that sort of training.
Yeah, so great question through you, Mayor. It's something we talk about often, especially every time we're looking at how much we cost. What can we modernize and what can we potentially civilianize? Frontline response is interesting because you have the emergency call for service where you'd expect a fully armed police officer to go, but are there areas that we can potentially explore to ensure that that same function is being done without it being an armed police officer? We've looked at a lot of our time that our officers do spend are at hospitals, unfortunately, with certain social issues, mental health apprehensions. So it is an area that we are looking at. How can we manage those situations better? Do you need a frontline police officer? There's units like forensic services where there's other services that have potentially said, well, do we necessarily need a sworn police officer? Because then that puts another frontline officer to the front line as well. And other services are looking at, again, traffic points and things like that. It's something that we're actively discussing for sure. Where we're going, that's yet to be determined, but it's on really the top of all our minds, just trying to be as effective and as efficient as possible. If you want to top up, Chief. Oh, yeah, and in addition, we really looked at the CSPA, so the Community Safety Policing Act, and really what are core functions of policing. You'd see police officers get paid on overtime on their days off, that we call them special duties, to go out and provide what we would call more or less a security function. There really is a big pushback, right? Our officers should be deployable on the front line. And what can event organizers do to better then run their event, and whether it's private security companies or other measures, if it's road closures, is it permanent road closures with barriers? I know it could be challenging because every municipality is in a position where they likely want to host these great community events, but there's not just the cost that goes with it. It's that people cost that hit us, so that we can ensure that our primary goal, public safety, crime prevention, is being done. So that is another kind of position we've taken, where we probably, if people are reaching out, coming to us and looking for events to be had, there's probably a lot of questions coming back and saying, exactly what function do you need? Because it's maybe not a police officer.
Perfect. And then third question, if I may. Response times, you touched upon it earlier with respect to response times. What sort of, we track response times for our fire, EMT is tracked. We did a fire services review. One of the first things the consultant said, well, where's your data on response times and this and that? And there's certain expectations that our fire chief mentions to us all the time. Is there an expectation amongst the police services to each municipality as far as what an appropriate response time is to certain situations? Like, certainly if it's a 911 call, I've just been stabbed, that response time is going to be a lot quicker than I lost my dog. But I'm just curious, like, what sort of elevated or basic sort of response times do we target, and what do we do if we're not achieving those targets?
So I can tell you best practices, the chief alluded to it, was a 7-minute response time for a high priority call in an urban setting, and then a rural setting would be 10 minutes roughly. I can say that the information we have coming in through our police service, right from our communications dispatch to the actual dispatcher, who then dispatches it to the officer, we really can track everything and anything. So we do have all that information. We try our best to meet those standards, and that's where the chief was really alluding to our staffing complement, where we need to be to not just respond to those calls in that manner. I mean, optimally, we're there faster, but that really seems to be the best practice right across the board. But then it would put us in a position when we're able to then respond to those calls, being properly staffed, then we can take that extra time for the proactive part. I don't know if you want to talk about their sheet.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mayor. Workload and response times are paramount to providing good return on investment for public dollars. Our service, I would like to view us as a leader in the province with respect to the use of algorithms and data to do this, to the point that we've had discussions with the Inspectorate of Policing, and they are now moving this province-wide to try to create standards so that when Hamilton is, a call for service comes in Hamilton, the expectations are the same as Niagara, as the same as Halton, as the same as Peel, so that there's provincial standards. It's not contained within our adequacy standards, but it is being looked at by the Inspectorate of Policing, which is a new entity to look at how services are operating across the province.
Thank you. And just to follow up on that, how are we doing as a municipality with the response times within Lincoln?
Good. Our response times came down last year. They've come down the last 2 years. There's a direct correlation between the number of officers on the road and response times. We can break it down by, if you had 3 more officers, your response times come down this much. So we're trying to incrementally bring them into the organization. Our data showed us a year and a half ago that we needed 100 more on the front line, but it's not reasonable for us to introduce them all in 1 year. So we're staging them into the organization, 1, because we need the manpower, and 2, because as we referenced earlier, we are an expensive entity.
Perfect. Thank you for your time, your and explanation to my question.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. We'll move on now to Councillor Benchima. Whoops, no, we won't.
Put your name back in. We can move that.
I just have to have the technical expert fix it.
Go back in.
Yeah.
I need to move you down.
Councillor Reimer?
Just get over here.
Yeah, perfect.
There you go.
Cooperation, excellent, okay. Very good.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for presentation. It can't be easy going around talking to politicians all the time, because, I mean, it just can't be. I don't think it is. So I have one question. So if you talked about how people are influenced by what they see on social media. It can be good, it can be bad, it can be true, it can be not true, but quite often things get expanded into, they take on a life of their own, and people get involved in conversations and they say things maybe anonymously. So, they may be saying things just to get involved in the conversation. There may not be a whole lot of truth in it. They may be trying to add fuel to a fire. So it's really hard to look at social media and figure out what's actually happening. So I think we all know that. But I have read on social media that break-ins to, and say random break-ins to houses have increased, to houses, not cars, but to houses, generally in Niagara. Would you say that's true? Random, yeah.
Yeah, a good question. Again, we can absolutely come back with the data if needed. I don't necessarily know if it's the most accurate piece of information. I can tell you that, I don't know if I have it here or there, but there was one slide that Staff Sergeant Bourgeois talked about when he referenced harm scores. So a harm score is really, it's a number assigned to a type of incident. So he did mention that those actually increased, whether it's random or not. I guess it's just really where the break and enter is happening. So consider, I'll go back to the harm just so that everybody's on the same page. A murder in a certain area would have the highest harm score, right? And then it kind of goes down towards it. So We did reference that I believe it was stolen vehicles that had decreased, specific to Lincoln, and break and enters may have gone up marginally for sure, and that's something I can say for sure in Lincoln has happened. But to get the actual stats region-wide, it's something we can take away and bring back for you to have. Again, though, a break and enters a property crime where there's measures that an individual can take, not necessarily perfect. And there's a difference between a break and enter where, if a house was vacant and it was broken into, or what we'd hear a lot on the news about home invasions where it's a violent, where you're going to come in and it's more or less a robbery. There's things we can do to potentially prevent break and enters right through what I referred to as before as SEPTID, the crime prevention through environmental design, whether it's cameras and lighting and landscaping, pulling back on landscaping and things like that. To get the specific numbers, real long answer short, we can come back and give it to you and go from there for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Well, the fact that it doesn't immediately jump to your mind that, yes, they've definitely increased, that's good to know. Thank you. And I have a question about, human trafficking. So that's something that we hear about, but I don't know if we hear a lot about it. We've spoken about it as a council for different reasons over time. And I'm looking on your website here about human trafficking. It says this crime is hidden from public view and often goes unreported. So that right there is one reason why we may not be talking about it as much as we would if it goes reported more often, I guess. But I know that, from my understanding, this Niagara area is a bit of a hot spot for a number of reasons, proximity to the border, et cetera. I don't think people know. So what would you tell people? So on the website, those most at risk of becoming victims include Indigenous women and girls, migrant and newly arrived persons to Canada, individuals living with disabilities, children in the child welfare system, at-risk youth, socially or economically disadvantaged individuals, and migrant workers. So from what you know, what would you tell all those people to watch out for?
So great question. Definitely an important topic. I can say that as much as it's hidden, a lot of focus has been put on that type of crime and prioritized, not just by the province, not just by our region, but like areas in general. As a police service, I can say that that's a specific unit we're expanding. This year, we actually added some supervisory capacity, introducing a staff sergeant with highly dedicated members in there, a sergeant, and then adding constable capacity for it. The more we know and the more education we put out, the more information we receive. So I don't have the stats with me, but I can tell you that there's been an increase in what's been reported over the last few years because there's such a great effort going at really focusing on this type of crime. Lots of education goes out. Not that everybody needs to follow our social media by no means, but we are working with all of our community partners, policing partners, to do our part to educate more. Later this week, I believe it's tomorrow actually, at Niagara Falls, there's different communities coming together, whether it's politicians, Niagara Falls, BIA, people tied to the casino, different police partner agencies, and it's really about how do we work together collaboratively, because this is an absolute important issue. Not just in essence with regards to like what we would call like the sex trafficking piece, but it's also the employment part, the working piece. Mm-hmm. There's amazing community agencies across the region who are very much focused on what can we do to better educate. So whether it's hotel staff, going through schools, we're actively involved with our school boards, whether it's a separate board or the DSBN, the District School Board of Niagara, to provide that education too. So there's a lot of information going out. We've hosted community events at our police service as well, where we've invited our community partners. There's been invitations gone out, again, through our social media and through media. So I would always recommend that the public take those opportunities to get as much information as possible, because we can put it out there, but the more people know will definitely be better. And you want to top up? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Myra, and through you, Mayor. Human trafficking and domestic violence in particular are two types of crime where you will see, sometimes seeing an increase in the crimes is actually indicative of enhanced trust and confidence in the police. There are many people in the community that are being either trafficked or subject of abuse who never report. And then as a result of some great work by tremendous investigators that we have, going out into community, building trust in vulnerable communities, people are becoming more comfortable coming in. So we're seeing the number of those crimes that we're investigating go up, but we view that as a positive. It means that people are coming in from dangerous places.
Yeah, I would agree. So I'm glad that it's getting a lot more attention because, you know, I read again stuff on social media that people are saying and what to watch out for. If you see a string tied to your car door, and walk away, there's, you know, all those kinds of things. I mean, I'm glad people are talking about it because they're aware that something's happening out there. Maybe they just don't understand it as much as they could and should. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. That's it.
Thanks very much, Councillor Njima. Councillor Reimer.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Thank you, Chief Forty and staff, everybody, for being here tonight, and the chair of the board for taking the time and spending one evening with us. In response to residents' concerns a few years ago, 2023, I believe, we passed a bylaw that dropped our speed in urban areas, town roads, from 50 kilometers an hour to 40. Our Public Works has purchased a couple of Black Cat radars, and it had done quite a bit of data collection up to that point. And I want to say we were well over 1 million vehicles, Director Graham, with that data, closer to 2 million, I believe. And we found our average was actually 38 kilometers an hour. A lot of vehicles in our urban areas were found to be actually under 12 kilometers an hour, under the speed limit. And if you take that, it might be a bit of a stretch, but I think if you take that relationship to and summarize the commentary of the residents, traffic is not speeding. Traffic is moving faster than they're comfortable with. It's still, I think there's still an issue there, but it's not a speeding issue. It's something that, you know, we need to educate or help them feel more comfortable. Is that two parts to the question? Is that something that is other residents in other communities you're experiencing that type of attitude as well, where speeding is with data driven is not really what the issue is? It's that people are not comfortable with the speed that traffic is moving. Is that something that you're seeing, or is that only alone to Lincoln? Through you, Chair, or through you, Mayor Easton. Sorry.
Yeah, so good question. Anecdotally, I'd say that you're probably correct. It's the perception piece. Many times, especially when I did my role as a district commander, I'd get called from members of the community with regards to a speeding issue. If I was available, I'd actually physically go out with the radar and stand there with them to really have an idea of how fast those vehicles are going. I'd say in the urban setting, it's probably accurate. The design of a lot of the neighborhoods, especially the newer ones with speed bumps too, they tend to deter the speeding. I will say, though, that speeding in certain areas is still a big concern.
Speeding, okay.
We've had, especially last year, unfortunately, a lot of fatal motor vehicle collisions, and speed was the absolute factor that contributed to it. So very different, and I think that's what makes Niagara unique, the difference between the urban and the rural settings, and then how we adjust how we police as well.
And follow up, if I may? Just with that, how vital or how helpful is the Black Cat radar data that we have to your staff sergeant had the hotspots before on how helpful is that, or is it helpful to you in gauging where you employ manpower? Yeah, so through you, Mayor, as Staff Sergeant Bourgeois mentioned, very, very useful.
that type of information is exactly what he referenced. It's evidence-based. It's not then anecdotal. It's not a perception. It's not a feeling. It's concrete information that we then have, and then based on the information, we either flag it as a hotspot, where we can then make sure our police officers are out there, or we can at least send a police officer first to confirm that, yes, absolutely, it's happening. And then again, the bonus to that is the time it's happening too. We're really able to put our resources when we actually need them.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. A comment, if I may. I had a real-time current experience with a positive interaction with an officer from 8th District on Friday night in our little subdivision in Beamsville. There was an individual displaying suspicious behavior. We called the non-emergency line, my wife and I. The officer called back, I want to say in about 4 to 5 minutes, and was on site in about 14. And the officer on site handled everything in a very professional and respectful manner. So it was a great interaction that just happened on Friday night. So kudos to the 8th District. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Easton.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And Councillor Russell.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I will try to be as quick and succinct as possible in my last round of questions. Again, I think it's a good problem for you guys to have that, again, we want to see more of you and more of you yourselves. I'm just wondering if you can give some insight. And again, Chief, you mentioned the budget, and there is a lot of sensitivity around the budget, especially with all the recent discussion regarding governance and amalgamation. I wonder if you can give some insights into what we're seeing in District 8 in terms of manpower. Have we seen an incremental increase over the years as that budget's gone up of actual net new feet on the ground?
Yeah, so great question through you, Mayor. Definitely a concerted effort to increase the manpower out here in 8th District. We've had the platoon strength increased with the recent submissions and the increase in authorized strength. We also have a dedicated detective office that works out of the 8th District facility, and that's seen growth as well with the addition of 2 detective constables with the goal to keep growing just based on the fact that there's a lot of people moving to, I guess, West Niagara, you'd say, Lincoln specifically. We really are looking to put that district in a position where they are properly staffed so that they can respond to the call. So there has been a great effort. And then in addition, when we keep talking about those specialty units, the growth of that also helps 8th District or Lincoln, because then if the regional traffic unit is larger, then they're able to police everywhere. Same thing with our core unit. The larger than the core unit goes, the more proactive we can have as teams with focus patrols, allowing our frontline officers to continue their frontline response.
Okay, thank you. And just a couple quick little follow-ups to that. Oh, sorry, Chief.
Sorry, you didn't really ask this, but something I would like to add with respect to this, Mayor, through you, is in addition to our human resources, we've embarked upon a master facility plan to try to identify office space as far as 10 years out, 15 years out, so that as the region grows and our population increases, we are in the right areas at the right time.
That's great. And we also have opportunities at BDSS, so it's a nice little segue from our CAO down the road. Two quick follow-ups. What is our average contingent of staff on, again, any particular average shift from District 8?
So good question, and again, there's really 2 parts to this. I'd say that our officers work 365 days, 12-hour shifts, 4 on, 4 off. There's 4 platoons for that frontline response. We have their platoons have 9 constables potentially working at any given time with a supervisor. So then there's that 10th dedicated supervisor. Our detective officers would be working at the same time. But then considering our regional traffic unit is also deployed policing the area, so there's added staff very often in West Niagara because that's where our traffic complaints come from, in addition to our core unit and every other specialty unit as well. So when we're looking at a frontline response, those platoon sizes is pretty much what I've described, but appreciate we do have a duty office, which in essence is in control of all operations region-wide, and they can deploy resources as needed. Unfortunately, we've had things happen in this area that are extremely serious in nature. It's not just those frontline police officers working out of that 8-district facility responding to it. We have police officers then who come from Welland, who come from St. Catharines, who come from Niagara Falls. So on a day-to-day, there's that, I guess, contingent of police officers, but should something happen, it's really the resources of the region at the beck of the duty officer who can then deploy them as needed.
Yeah, thank you. And last follow-up. Again, Chief, I think you mentioned that there's an incremental increase of about 33 new recruits per year for the last few years, or you're trying to get towards 100 based on demand. Just wondering if you can give some insight into what the retirement or attrition aspect is, and also number of officers off on sick leave. Like, is it an active, we have a general number of people that we're trying to target of being active, and then there are some that we have to backfill? Like, what's that picture look like?
Through you, Mayor, sorry. That is a very complex and timely question. I was asking that very question of the Deputy Chief in Support Services this morning. We have members that are off on WSIB, work-related issues, occupational issues, and we have members that are off on non-occupational injuries. We are tracking attrition. With the increase to establishment this year and our collective agreement has a clause that members give 6 months notice when they're retiring. We need to hire 86 people this year to accommodate attrition and growth. So it is something that we pay really a lot of attention to, so that we don't find ourselves like in the position that we were in a couple of years ago, where we're having to close the gap at the same time as new legislation was introduced. So we're now through the new legislation trying to close the gap, and then we'll be in a position where we can just sustain for future growth.
Okay, and just last little follow-up. Again, the percentage that are off on stress leave or sick leave, or again, work-related, non-work-related, is that a high percentage, and does it vary? Like, is it like short-term versus long-term?
The numbers stay pretty consistent. The names change, but the numbers stay pretty consistent. When we compare ourselves to other agencies, we're not quite as impacted as other agencies, but we have seen an increase in occupational injuries related to mental health, post-traumatic stress syndrome, injuries related to repeatedly being exposed to trauma.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Murray.
Okay, thank you very much, councillors, for many really excellent and in-depth questions. I have a few comments that I'd like to make because as one of the regional councillors, I've listened to a number of comprehensive presentations by Chief Forty and his predecessors. And Madam Chair, I want to say to you as a regional councillor and as a mayor of the town that I believe one of the major changes in the police services over the last number of years is that it is more professional in terms of its presentation, leadership, and overall, in the overall way that it brings information to those of us who have to make not a decision about the budget, but those of us who need to seriously understand what those numbers mean and what they mean in terms of how our communities are organized in terms of coverage. And that is something that I believe members of our community need to understand. Everybody wants coverage. Again, who would make this comment? Every time we had a budget meeting, the late Chair Jim Bradley. Everybody wants more coverage. But boy, oh boy, and this last year was the worst. The complaints about the costs are just beyond the pale. And so the chief will tell you, he probably thinks that I should be supporting the budget like that. I'm one of the people that waits till the very last minute, because I hope above hopes that he will come up with another 200,000, that he can remove it, knowing full well that every time I do that, it's not helping people at home. But that's what we're faced with every budget year, and this year isn't any different. And I'm very proud to say that a few years ago, when the interviews were done for how many new positions we needed, Councillor Brunet and I attended that meeting, and we had no hesitation at that time saying we would support 50. 50 is nothing now. So I want to thank you very much for coming here. I hope that I see the day when there's more bike patrols in the community. I think it just seems to raise people's shoulders when they look around the corner. And I mean, I know that myself. There's something about driving down the street and seeing a car come out the cross street and you think, they're here and they're paying attention. And it's one of the reasons that I'm so satisfied with what's going on with the truck monitoring. Because every time there's an MTO officer, every time there's an OPP, every time there's an RPS, that is police and police and police. All with different roles, but still fulfilling a commitment of eyes on what's going on in the community. And that's something else that I think our community needs to remember. So, Chief, when you come and you present your budget, I sometimes think I'm one of the few people that understands about the aggregate nature of the people that respond to certain types of calls. And I always felt that the emergency department budget and the police budget were looking pretty similar when it came to some of those numbers. Staff coming and going, but a constant stream of patients coming through the door, constant stream of calls, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so I really have always understood your budget. I just, like a lot of other people, was stuck in that position of having to say, let's put the brakes on a bit because the public just can't deal with it. But there's no question they want your service, and I mean that quite sincerely. So I do have a question, and it has to do with provincial standards, because it may be one that maybe the community don't have any knowledge of. We may not have heard too much of it here, but it had a huge impact on costs. I don't know what the province's plans are for that. Maybe you do. Maybe there's something that we can do in terms of lobbying more directly at AMO. It's a good time for us to put something else on that list. So if you could speak a little bit about that, that would be wonderful.
Thank you for your question, Mayor. And thank you for your comments with respect to the team that we have. It really is a team effort that helps prepare a budget presentation for Regional Council. As the Mayor referenced, 2.5 years ago, the province introduced new legislation, the Community Safety and Policing Act, which replaced formerly the Police Act. And with that act brought upon us a significant lift around the expectations on training, de-escalation, dealing with mental health calls for service. There was an immediate, I think, $10.6 million hit, if I recall correctly, for our budget to shift midway through the year to accommodate the training needs with respect to that. Now, looking forward, we have, for all intents and purposes, baked that into our service delivery now. That is the new way of doing business for us. One area that I think, well, I know because I was part of a discussion asking the province to revisit was the funding with respect to court security and prisoner transportation. And Mayor, you'll recall, we spoke about that at Regional Council. On an annual basis, we do face a funding shortfall, which directly goes to the levy. to the tax, to our budget and the tax hit for the citizens. So that, in response to your question, what is one area that elected officials at every level could advocate for? That would be the one, to reconcile the court security and prisoner transportation grant. The increases to training and de-escalation, yes, they were expensive, but I do think they enhance our service delivery because we are dealing with more people that are dealing with complex issues. The intersection of illicit drugs and mental health, which presents an entirely different problem for us, or challenge, I shouldn't say problem, than we faced 10 or 15 years ago. You know, we were dealing with heroin and cocaine and marijuana. Now we're dealing with fentanyl and carfentanil and different illicit drugs that have a much more significant life-changing impact on people's lives and on families' lives. The one area that we continue to examine to find efficiencies is the triage of emergency calls. We would love for there to be a fourth entity created, police, ambulance, fire, and mental health, to deal with those calls at the first instance so that we don't have to. The unfortunate reality of what we're facing now is we've tried to distance ourselves from ambulance and fire on those calls. You know, they're going and saying, it's not safe for us to go in, you need to come. So now we're both there. So it's a complex issue that we're trying our best to work with our partners. We're in regular dialogue with the region. We've got steering committees, working committees. Mario's on a working committee. I'm on a steering committee trying to address some of those issues. But to your point earlier, Mayor, all of that falls because we're 24/7 to us, and those types of calls for service increase the cost of us policing the community. So.
We had some diagrams, counselors, that maybe at some future time the chief could share, which actually shows you the aggregation of personnel for different types of calls. And the level of specialization will knock your socks off. These calls aren't done in an hour. They're not done in 2 hours. They may not be done for 5 years, but somebody is still assigned to them. It's extremely complex. And I think that we just all need to learn a lot more about the realities. I mean, when the numbers were coming in on the whole business of trafficking, I had to leave the room. I thought I'd left that part of my life where I was dealing with that kind of abuse. And it's getting worse and worse all the time. And so much of it is related outside of our schools. It's just really becoming quite worrisome. So let me say, Chief Forty and Chair, the whole team, thank you very much for attending and for also being part of our earlier party. But that's pretty important for us, and we're really glad that you were here for that too. We're here to support you, and we want that message to go out to the community. We hope that everything the councillors have said tonight also gives you the strong message about what the priorities are in the community and the concerns that they have. This is a very important partnership that we have, and we want to keep it that way. And I know that Mike's already got a spot for you to move into when the time comes. So keep working with our Public Works team and our CAO. And I asked CAO Kirkopoulos for some general rough numbers, and this is for the public, for some general rough numbers on how much we spend on speeding and traffic, because I want them to not only understand that your team is responsive, there's ways that they can get your attention even more effectively. I think that's really important. But we're also spending money and doing our share. There's things that we can do so that we don't need you, and there's other things that we can't do without you. So we spend about $150,000 to $200,000 a year on Black Cat radar, on digital feedback signs, on painting and signs, on truck camera monitoring program. On the capital programs, we spend about $300,000 to $400,000 annually on traffic safety, plus traffic calming in capital roads projects. It's just a lens that we use to get that work done and to make sure that we can contribute to the greatest extent that we can. But it's a big chunk of money on a fairly small budget for a community of our size. So on behalf of council, thank you very much for your attendance here this evening and for your valuable information. I wish you all well. We didn't talk about moral harm tonight, Chief, but it's a conversation you and I've had, and it's basically what happens when you don't pay attention to what's going on around you when it comes to policing and other essential services, and you wear your staff out to the point that they can't come to work anymore, then you have an even worse problem. You can't develop a professional aggregation of police officers without paying attention to their mental health. So we share those concerns with you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks to all of members of council. We work with you, but we work for you, and we want you and we expect you to hold us accountable as well. So I appreciate the nature of your questions, and I also appreciate you saying that Dylan was your favorite staff sergeant you've ever had here over any of the previous ones. He's going to remind us of that, I'm pretty sure. So thank you very much again for your questions.
Probably going to be off for 2 or 3 days now.
Thank you.
Councillors, that was very well done and a good way to spend some time. So I hope those members of the public that are watching found it useful as well. Your representation did you very proud with their questions. Okay, I have a motion moved by Councillor Russell, seconded by Councillor Murray, that council receive and file for information the update presentation from the Niagara Regional Police Service. Madam Clerk, would you please call out the vote? We may have to get our machines back on track again.
I'll open the vote. Mayor Easton, are you in
Support.
favor? Thank you. And Councillor Rajima?
Just in now and submit.
Thank you so much. And I'll close that vote, and that carries. Thank you.
All right, item the 10.2 is the Regional Councilors Report. I think we were all advised that Councillor Foster would not be able to attend this evening, and he didn't have a report. We just had council last night, so the committee week is coming up. Item 11 is items for consideration. Item 11.1 is correspondence from Downtown Beamsville, Downtown Bench Beamsville BIA dated April 21st, 2026, regarding the 2026 slate of officers. Do members of council have any questions?
Seeing none.
There being none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Russell, seconded by Councillor Pachariva. The council receive and file for information the correspondence received from the Downtown Bench Beamsville BIA regarding the 2026 slate of officers, and that council approved the Board of Directors' appointment of Sunny Segal for the remainder of the current term. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thank you, and the vote is now open. Yeah. And I will close that vote, and that carries.
Okay, thank you, and I think we've all noticed what a fabulous job the BIA has done on the appearance downtown. It's really pretty stunning.
Madam Mayor, we're going to now lead into the item that was added as 11.2.
Yes, yep. Okay, now, We have, just let me go back. 11.2 is the request by Councillor Mikulik.
It is, and I have shared that, I have circulated that resolution by email to members of council earlier this evening. And so you should all have a copy of that. We can put it on the screen as well. If we can pop that up, Alexa.
Put it on so the public can take a look as well. Councillor Mikulik, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. I know the province announced some of their intent, their plans earlier this month. From my perspective, I wasn't sure what we could do as a municipality in voicing our opinion or expressing our concern. I took a look at this motion that was proposed by, or, you know, this resolution that was formed by the city of Fort Erie or town of Fort Erie, and to me, it seems to check off a lot of the concerns that I've been hearing from residents that I've been talking to out and about with respect to democracy, with respect to, you know, elections and how chairs are formed or chosen. Again, like it's, you know, it's without knowing what the timeline is for this sort of thing, I have a feeling it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Therefore, I think if we're going to do something, we may have missed the boat with formulating or constructing our own resolution. Yeah, and you can always take a look at any resolution that any municipality makes and pick it apart and find some way to improve it a little bit here or tweak it a little bit there. But looking at this resolution, it seems to check off the significant things that I see. And, you know, for us to say, well, we can just submit comment to the province, I think by submitting comment or submitting opinion through a resolution carries more weight. Yeah, and this is not something that I don't think myself or people I speak to are alone on. I mean, AMO is even calling for the province to protect democracy and local governance. They feel that what's proposed are in the latest series of provincial actions in the areas of municipal jurisdiction that undermine municipal authority and centralized decision-making at the province. So they're advocating for this as well. I think the more of us that advocate and the more of us that speak up, the more weight it carries at the higher levels. So, you know, reading the motion, reading the resolution, I don't think it's overly complicated to understand. I don't think it's overly complicated to debate. You know, I just throw it on the floor to see what our position is as a municipality with respect to this sort of thing. And pretty simple. You know, I'm not asking us to necessarily create our own, craft our own motion. We've done that before. I think that this is town of Fort Erie has made the effort to do so and taken the charge on it. And I'm happy to support it. Now, you know, it's at the mercy of council to consider and to support or not support. So those are my comments.
Thank you very much, Councillor. We have speakers now. Councillor Njima, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And through you, a comment that our ward meeting that we had, that was definitely like the primary subject that came up was protecting democracy and what they see as all of these kinds of decisions or potential decisions being a hit on democracy. The question was asked, what can we do about it? And, well, we said, well, we're here to listen, and the CAO said, we're here to listen. We do go to AMO and speak to the province, and we do what we can. But we also said, as individuals and voters, you can speak out if you really feel that there's a problem here. You can contact your MPP's office. That was one solution that came up. But I think I'm supportive of what's in this motion, and I don't see any harm in supporting it as well. Because again, I understand exactly what they're saying, and we heard it loud and clear at our ward meeting, the concerns, and I believe that a lot of people feel the same way in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Murray.
Thank you very much, Mayor Easton. I appreciate Councillor Michalek bringing this resolution forward, the one that was crafted by Fort Erie. I do have some challenges with the wording of this particular resolution. It comes across, in my opinion, as very prescriptive and very demanding, and in my opinion, not particularly aimed towards advocacy, but much more to scolding in some ways. I think that the challenge that I see is that the initial three are this resolution telling the province what to do, the resolution that they remove the pending legislation, they ensure any weighted process imposed respects fair representation, and they reconsider appointing regional chairs. And the challenge that I see there is that we don't actually have the authority to tell the province what to do. I would be much more comfortable if this resolution requested additional input, requested additional conversations with municipalities as to what they feel a fair and reasonable democratic process would be. That being said, I do in fact support the flavor of it in that I do think that we need to strongly advocate against some of these decisions that are happening, but I have some challenges with the wording.
Thank you very much. That's the end of the speakers. Madam Clerk, Councillor Michalek, go ahead.
Just if I could request a recorded vote.
Sure. Did you have a motion that you spoke to the clerk about?
It is. It's to support the resolution of Fort Erie, Madam Mayor. So
Okay.
it would.
Everybody understand that?
Yeah, so I can read out the motion if you
Okay.
just give me a moment. And so that council receive and files information and endorse item 1.7 of the council information package week ending April 17th pertaining to correspondence from the town of Fort Erie dated April 16th regarding response to provincial proposal on regional governance. And Councillor Michalek, you requested a recorded vote for that.
Okay, before we find a seconder, Madam Clerk.
We have a seconder, it's Councillor Russell.
Okay, I have a comment to make. This motion was brought forward to Regional Council last Thursday night, and it came to us to be received. That's what the original motion said. But it was when the mayor of Fort Erie spoke to the motion, he wanted the wording changed to endorsed. And that I had the clerk's office do a review of the conversation today, because I thought there actually had been another motion talked about, but it didn't go anywhere. So you may also want to listen to what some people had to say. I didn't support the motion there, and I'm not going to support it here, because I have a different perspective about why the province is taking the actions that they're taking. There needs to be reform in all regional governments. I've made it very clear that I believe that reform is extremely important and must go forward in St. Catharines, or in Niagara. And I also believe that changes are very slow to come. We have made 2 presentations to the province, and we have heard nothing back from them. I think it's really a very difficult position for us to be in. However, we all know what the issues are, and we have also not taken any internal action to change things. And therefore, I'm not about to complain to the province about something that we have the power to influence. So I want you to understand that I do have a position on this, and I haven't changed it. I'm very serious about my belief that reform is essential and it must take place as soon as we can get to it. And this motion is not doing that. As you say, it is a scolding motion. And I know what the Premier's rights are, what the Municipal Act says. They may make changes. They have chosen to make changes. So, but I certainly encourage members of the public to send letters to Queen's Park, letting them know what their beliefs are. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I will put the motion up on the screen. And I will open the vote. Thank you. Madam Mayor? Your vote is? No? Okay. Councillor Pachariva?
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to East Drive.
Okay.
Sorry.
Did you want to tell me what it is and I can put it in? Thank you. And I will close that vote. And that carries 5-4. We'll keep that on the screen for just a moment, as it is a recorded vote, and that will be in the minutes as well. Thank you. I'll close that vote.
Item 12 is a motion to approve previous council minutes, and we're now considering item 12.1, the council minutes of April 13th, 2026. Do members of council have any questions?
Seeing none.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Murray, seconded by Councillor Brunet, that council approve the minutes of the following meetings of council minutes of April 13th, 2026. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and the vote is open. And you're in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and that carries.
The motion is carried. Item 13 is recommendations from standing committees, and we're now considering the following. Committee of the Whole minutes of April the 20th, 2026. Committee of the Whole minutes of April 27th, 2026. Do members of council have any questions? There being none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers and seconded by Councillor Russell that council approve the following recommendations from standing committees. Committee of the Whole minutes of April 20th, 2026. Committee of the Whole minutes of April 27th, 2026. I will now ask the clerk to open the vote.
Vote is open. I will close that vote. That carries.
The motion is carried. Item 14 is notice of motion, and we have none this evening unless someone has one to announce. No, there being none. Item 15 is reports of municipal offices. I have no separate report this evening, thank you. Item 16 is a motion to consider confidential matters. We have none this evening. Item 17 is a motion to approve bylaws. We have 2 bylaws for consideration today. Do members have any questions? There being none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer, seconded by Councillor Brunet, that leave be given to approve the following bylaws. 2026-28, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 89-2000, 8928, as amended, being a bylaw to regulated traffic and parking on local municipal roads, Schedule C, parking prohibited. and 2026-29, a bylaw to amend bylaw 2022-75 as amended, being a bylaw to delegate certain powers and duties to officers and employees of the town of Lincoln. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Vote is open,
Yes.
and I will close that vote, and that carries, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. The motion is carried. Item number 18 is a motion to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting. I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva and seconded by Councillor Mikulik that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 2026-30, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Monday, May 4th, 2026, being read a first, second, and third time, and that bylaw number 2026-30 be enacted and passed, that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. I will now ask the clerk to open the vote.
Vote is open.
Yes.
And I will close that vote, and that carries.
Thank you. The motion is carried. Item 19 is council remarks. Any remarks from anyone? Thank you very much. Item 20 is a motion to adjourn. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Brunet, seconded by Councillor Russell, that the council meeting on May the 4th, 2026 be adjourned at 21:11. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thank you. The vote is open. And I'll close that vote, and that carries. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks. This concludes the council meeting. Thank you, Mr.